We're ready to start. This is the June 19th meeting of the Buffalo Board of Education, and would you all please stand and pledge to the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Good evening, colleagues. This evening, we are very pleased to have 5 major categories of board recognition for your consideration. First, we're very pleased that the New York State Association for Bilingual Education has 3 awards, and there are 3 8th grade students from the Bilingual Center, school number 33, who have won 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place in the New York State Association for Bilingual Education. It's called the Dr. Nivea Zavala Art Contest, grade 6 to 8 category across New York State. And our students won 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. And their teacher is here as well, Petra Mencia. And we want Petra, could you come down?
I was waiting for the students.
Okay, let's bring, are the students here?
I think they're coming up right now.
They're coming up right now. You know what we'll do? We'll wait for them, and I'll go to the 2nd, and then we'll come back.
Fantastic. Thank
Fair
you.
good? Fair enough? All right. Thank you so much. We're excited. Colleagues, our next recognition award, and we'll come back to those 3 students, are for 2 of our board members who have been recognized recently by the New York State School Board Association for Board Mastery Level 3 awards. And these go to 1st Central District Representative Paulette Woods for 150 points awarded for leadership development opportunities, Ms. Paulette Woods. And then our Vice President for Executive Affairs and Ferry District Representative, Ms. Sharon Dalton Cotman, 250 points awarded for leadership development opportunities and a voucher for 1 in-person training before December 31st, 2019. So we are very pleased to have board member colleagues, would you like to say anything?
The only thing I'd like to say is that it's so important as board members that we continue to learn. And this is the opportunity to do so. When we attend the conventions, it really is a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of time out of your life, but as a result, you bring back great ideas and you understand that our school district is doing pretty well in a lot of respects. And then you find areas where we can improve. And I'm just grateful to have an administrator in you, Dr. Cash, and your staff that is receptive to the new ideas that we learn at these conventions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations. So Ms. Petra Mencia, if you could join us down here. I believe here's the 1st place winner, and he's not here tonight, but let's certainly congratulate Osvaldo Peguero Rodriguez. Samuel wasn't able to make it either?
No, neither.
Okay. Michael's representing.
Mike is already said.
Michael, this is a big deal. Thank you. Hold on. Miss Nancy, are these colleagues your colleagues or these Miss
Yes.
Parents?
No, actually, her mom is right there.
So we have mom come down?
Thank you, bye.
Come on, mom. First, second place in the state. That's a big honor. Principal? Your principal fashion is here? Absolutely. That's come on. Come on. Yes. And baby sister? Baby sister? Oh, yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much and congratulations. Again, I see that Central District Representative Paulette Woods has joined us. Again, we're recognizing her because the New York State School Board Association has awarded her a Mastery Level 3 award for accumulating 150 points for leadership development opportunities. Ms. Woods, congratulations. Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words? Okay. All right. This next award, not many board members wanted to have these teacher assistants recognized. And so I think Teresa Harris and Jennifer and Dr. Neville, thank you for this. This is really special. We have 7 of our teacher aides who have attained diplomas from Erie Community College on May 22nd. And in a joint project with ECC, the BPS Teacher Center ran a pilot for BPS teacher aides to take college courses at the Teacher Center. They qualified them to receive their Teacher Assistant Level 3 state certification, the highest certification attainable. So that's a big deal, and that's on our way. We have a pipeline now for our teacher aide assistants to become certified as teachers, ultimately, if they choose to do so. But certainly, this is one first huge step toward that goal. So let's give a warm round of applause to Kim Gagas, Janet Roberson, Willetta Jones, Surma Nessa, Gwendolyn Kelly, Virginia Wallace, Latoya Thomas. All across the district, these people are representing our schools. With them will be Director of the Buffalo Teacher Resource Center, Melinda McPherson Sullivan. Could you come down, please? Ms. Sullivan, do you want to make any special remarks? I think you know your colleagues better than we do. We certainly appreciate them. But we would like you to make a few remarks about it.
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm so proud of these women. They came in after working full days in their school, after bus duty. They made it on time. They worked 2-3 hours every day that they came, twice a week. We had extra courses over the summer that they took, and I couldn't be prouder of them. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, well, hold on. I think colleagues, let's let them take it first, and then you come up, okay? Let's let them get it in book first. Alvin? Colleagues, for our fourth recognition this evening, we've begun the practice across all categories of employees of recognizing what we call our retiring irreplaceables. Retiring irreplaceables. And we have 4 of those this evening that we'd like to honor. And let me name all of the 4. They'll all 4 come up, and then we'll take pictures with them. First, Michael Yates, a buyer and a director of purchase for these last 29 years, I believe. For 29 years, well, Madam was unable to make it here this evening, but he has done a fabulous job for us, and we want to honor and thank Michael Yates. Michael Yates. Next 3, we can wait because they're all here. Evelyn Rivera, a school aide, Spanish speaking typist, stenographer, senior stenographer, Spanish speaking administrative assistant. They be recognized 31 years. We love you, Emmy, and we really, 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 really appreciate your service. You've been fabulous and reliable and extraordinary. Would you say, board member? All right. Mr. Les Leopold, been a teacher, supervisor, and director for 22 years. Extraordinary service for our adult education program. One of the best adult education programs in the country. Leopold. Yes, come on down. Come on down. And certainly not least, our own blessed Mary Jo Conrad, an elementary teacher, an elementary assistant principal, elementary principal, and associate superintendent of schools. 33 years. Service to the children and the Buffalo Public Schools. Mary Jo Conrad. Colleagues, let's join the esteemed employees at the program. proceeding on with what we call our sports team recognitions for 2019. We're going to ask the coach and the team to come up, and then I'm going to ask the coach to say the names. Okay? Everybody understand how we're proceeding? So first, recognition, the Lafayette High School Varsity Boys Soccer 2018 Section 6 Class B2 Co-Championship Team for the state of New York.
You hear all that?
Coach Brad Rodnicki. All right, Brad here. He's trapped. Okay, I see you, Brad. Bring your fine young man down here. Let's honor you. And then, okay.
Yes, yes.
Brad, feel free to say a few words.
Okay. Many of the players are taking their algebra exam, that's why I couldn't be here. So it's too bad. I have 20 of them, so only 7 got to show up today, but I'm glad they're here. Some recognition. We got Ferris down the bottom. Ferris Muhammad, I'm sorry. Patrick, Sten, Ollie, Solo, Kinwin, and Joel.
Last boys were the Section 6 Class B2 co-champions, finished with a record of 12-4, and their final game was against Southwestern. So congratulations, gentlemen.
Great job, great job. Congratulations. Next thing we'd like to honor is City Honors Unified Co-Ed Basketball Team, the 2019 Section 6 Championship Team, and the coach is Caitlin Johnson. Caitlin, feel free to say a few words about your remarkable students.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We actually have 26 members on our squad, so this is just a handful. But Unified Sports is an inclusive, nationwide, worldwide sports program that includes students with and without intellectual disabilities playing together on one basketball court, which is pretty awesome. And this is the second year we won the Section 6 championship, so it's pretty Noah Hudson, Noah Kivlin, who won Player of the Game
Where's the snack stand? Come on. I just wanted to thank a few people real quick. I just wanted to start by thanking Dr. Cash, all the board members. I wanted to thank our athletic director, Audrey Lloyd, administration at the school, Ms. Doyle, Ms. Potter, for all their support. Okay, my assistant coaches for all the time and work they put in. We're not always getting paid, but they're always there. And then to these guys right here. A couple couldn't be with us today. A couple had a few things going on, but you're looking at some of the hardest working kids in Buffalo. And we're in, we play in the top league. We're in the Yale Cup 1, and despite being the smallest school in the Yale Cup 1, we've won the league back-to-back years. So I'll just start at the end introducing is Coach Andre Adams, Coach Kyle Perla, Keontae Jones, Jeremiah Cologne, Anthony Smith, Tramel Stevens Richardson, Devontae Prince, Malik Meadows, Keith Brown, Jamon Jones, and Jamon Jones, who was the Yale Cup Player of the Year in 14 West New York, and Shawnee Pickett. So a lot of these guys are juniors. Tramel's a senior, so hopefully we'll be back here next year again. Celebrate the state championship, that's the goal. Just a few things about our year this year. 22-5. We lost in the state championship to a tough Cooperstown team. We went on a 14-game win streak before that. The game in the Final Four, the semifinal game, we beat Lake George, who was a team with a 54-game win streak, and they were the state championship the year before. Regional champs, and then obviously losing the Section 6 champs, all that, and then we lost the state championship. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it. This is my dad, Jim King. I just want to give him thanks. He helps out at the snack stand a lot with admission and stuff like that. So he's and my mother as well. My mother and father.
Well done. Well done.
Sue, I think in the middle might work.
Sue has something to say.
I'm just so proud of the boys. They worked really hard. I'm so proud of them. They've worked so hard. James became our coach freshman year with these kids, and they were in the JV, and they stuck together. And what I love about it is they all play well together, and they work very hard throughout college schedule, and as well as always coming back to practice. And you would have been so proud of them in the finals. Gentleman came up to me and asked if I was the superintendent or something to do with the school. And I said, I'm the principal. And he said, we don't know your boys, but I am just wowed by all of us on how respectful they were, how wonderful they were. And it was a hard loss for Lake George because they had never lost like 54 games. And I didn't know this man. He walked up to me and he just said how respectful they were of the Lake George team and how well they carried themselves throughout the tournament. So really, really proud of them, and we look forward to next year. We only have 3 seniors. We're going to miss them, but the rest of the boys will be back. So we're excited.
Terrific job. MEC, legendary now. Since I've been here, 2, 3, every year I'm hearing about MEC. So congratulations, young people. Finish the year strong. Best wishes in all of your future endeavors. Board members, hold on. Ellen. Probably maybe make 2 rows, come behind. behind the board, the young men. Colleagues, move along. We'll finish our athletic honors with a few individual honors. First individual not here, but we certainly want to recognize him. Section 6, large school, male long jump champion. McKinley track and field, coaches Zaire Dorsey. Zaire is not here. Coach is not here. But the individual is here, Mr. Elias. I'm going to try his name. Ingenda Baniqua. Ingenda Baniqua. Allende, Beniqua. But anyway, let's give him a round of applause. Long jump champion. Colleagues, this next honor is a big deal for the city of Buffalo. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, born in Philadelphia, and my favorite team of all time is Cincinnati Reds, with Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, Lee May, Tony Perez, on and on. And this young man was selected in the 36th round of the 2019 MLB Major League Baseball draft by the Cincinnati Reds. He's a McKinley baseball star, undeniably, and his coach is Dominic Massaro. This young man is Alexander Johnson. If I could, this is great. Principal Abraham, could you say a few words about this fine young man?
I just want to say Alex Johnson is a phenomenal athlete, but also a phenomenal student. You always see him have high integrity, always be where he's supposed to be, always have great spirit, and I will say, and he has a phenomenal mom. From the time Alex became a Mac, Mom has been saying that he's going to get drafted. So Mom has been working with him, and Alex is just just all around great young man. So congratulations to him, sir.
Alex, I'll take one with the principal and the young man, and then we'll come up. Mom, are you sure? Mom said no. Alexander, come right in the middle. Alexander. Alexander. He can throw it over 100 miles per hour, colleague. That's what we said. That's what we said. 92, he said. Okay. You'll get it up there, Dan.
That's history.
Colleagues, fitting conclusion to our athletic honorees are our scholar athletes. So for Section 6, our scholar athletes must have a 90-plus average for the previous 6 semesters and have been a starter or a significant player in their sport. The scholar athlete distinction is open to seniors from Western New York's 100-plus public and private schools. Tonight, we recognize 7 of our own. First, Catherine Wachter, Soccer, City Honor School. Brianna Green, Cross Country, Olmsted. Elliot Solomon, Basketball, City Honors. Iris Carl, Softball, City Honors. Gabrielle Schwartzat, Softball, Emerson. Raphael Dangbo, baseball, Da Vinci, and Tatiana Cook, track, McKinley.
We got projector problems.
Colleagues, about 5 years ago, this board made it a special priority to begin recognizing students whenever we could at the beginning of our board meetings. You've seen a tremendous example of that this evening. Nonetheless, this fifth and final recognition is in many ways our most special recognition tonight, this year, and in many years. Fortunately, we don't have to do it often, but tonight is certainly special. We will be losing exemplary board members who have served this community with all of their heart and soul, with great, great distinction. And we have a special award for them, the mighty Crystal Buffalo, one of the most beautiful awards I've ever seen, and it is a true treasure. Let us honor our retiring board members, Dr. Barbara Seals Nevergold, President, Member at Large since December 28, 2011. Dr. Teresa Harris Hayes, Vice President of Student Support, East District, since July 1, 2013. Lawrence Quinn, Member at Large since July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2019. And Ms. Patricia Pierce, Member at Large since July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2019. Mariah Sammy should join her colleagues as the 2019 student representative from the Melinda High School.
There we go. Now, take one bird. Bird.
I am proud of our children. This is an exciting time
always said that the Irish don't know what they want out of life, but they're willing to fight for it, so I hope I fulfilled her. But I've lived in Buffalo 62 years, and until I joined this board, I realized that it was Buffalo. I've heard, meet so many different people from places that I wasn't familiar with, people that I was familiar with. And I guess my takeaway is this is so wonderful. We disagree on things, that's the nature of democracy, but I think that there's a great heart, and if we can find a way to help children better, is our mission. We will all benefit. So thank you for letting me serve all of you, even those that didn't want me to. I really appreciate the experience. Thank you.
I would like to start by saying that when I first got on board, I was scared to death. I came on board as the only white female, aligned with 4 white males, and the other 4 black females, and I didn't know where I fit. But I will tell you this, I learned really quickly that these women are wonderful people, as are the men. And in leaving this board, it was a very difficult decision for me to make and not voting again. But I gave it a great deal of thought. And I just want to say, Hardy, that Dr. Nevervold, you have taught me so much about being a lady, and you have shown so much poise, so much class throughout this entire 5 years. She's a Harris team, dedicated, educator that I've learned so much from, and really, I'm so committed to what you do. Chairman, I love her. She's my girl. I didn't think when I first started on the board that I would ever be able to say 2 words to her. I love this woman. She's all you need when you are in trouble. And Larry, my best friend. So we intend to spend a lot of time, now that I will be on the board, grandmother now, take it very seriously. I'm very happy. And I'm going to pass this microphone to this young lady. Please take note of her. She is spectacular.
Hello everyone. I just want to start off by saying, I remember when I was 8 years old, and then my dad told me, that my parents had been fighting for me for all. He told me in 2010 we're going to go to Buffalo, New York, and then he told me you're going to have all the opportunities. You're going to go to school, you're going to work with the United Nations, and you're going to bring immigrants to America. And he said, one day, if you ever decide to leave America, your name is going to be high up there, and you're going to make all the immigrants proud. I just want to thank all of you guys for giving me this opportunity. And I don't want this opportunity to just stop right here. I want the doors to be open to every student. Every student deserves anything that they need. And this board members, they're amazing.
It's all good.
Yeah, don't worry. My dad's so proud of me, and I'm going to make him so proud.
You are. Yes, sir, ladies, thank you very much. This is wonderful. We have another piece of business that I think also will continue the spirit of the night in terms of recognizing excellence and recognizing our own. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion authorizing the board president to execute a second amendment to the employment contract between the Board of Education and Dr. Pryor Cash for the sole purpose of extending the term of disemployment for one additional year through August 23rd, 2020.
So moved.
Seconded, Ms. Woods, all in favor? I guess I asked for that, all in favor of the motion, but is there any comment that anyone would like to make? Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that it has been an honor working with Dr. Pryor Cash. He is a man of vision and a very committed man. This is his last leg, quotes, quote unquote, of his legacy, and I'm glad that he chose Buffalo Public Schools to come there. I enjoyed working with him. We have a lot of work to do over the next few years, even though you guys are leaving me. Okay, I threw that in there. But anyway, thank you, Dr. Cash. It is our honor to extend this contract for an additional year that puts us out to 2021. It will allow this district time to work on his replacement and continue the momentum that we have. We are fortunate to have you in this district. Thank you.
It is my honor to vote to have you continue your work, this difficult work, another year. Wish we could say 5 or 10, but everybody has good decisions to make about their lives. But it has been an honor. It has been a pleasure to work with you, to learn from you. I thank you for being so open and sharing your skill, your knowledge, your talent. You're just amazing. Your wife is amazing. I appreciate her as well and her encouragement all the time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. There are not enough words to really articulate what you have done for this community. And I hear it everywhere I go, and it's true. You have set something ablaze here, and we're going to continue to support you and make sure our kids get every opportunity that they deserve and support them to reach their highest potential. Thank you, sir.
I want to congratulate you also. I think a contract's a great thing to have, but I don't need to remind you that you got a big job. And there are so many children in this community that will depend upon these next few years. So I wish you the best wishes. And I want you to be bold, aggressive, fight hard on behalf of children, because there really is there are very few people that are fighting for them. And I respect what all my colleagues said. You'll have a new board and they'll have their issues, but I don't need to remind you, but I'll remind myself that it's always keep in mind these children who have nothing else but this place right here.
Dr. Cash, thank you so much for coming here and being a consummate gentleman at all times, bringing your knowledge, skills, and abilities to our district. And I really appreciate everything that you have done. Thank you for allowing me to serve with you as well. Good luck.
So I just want to say we've had many back and forths, but it's all, I know that you're always there for the community. You're there for, you're there for the people. We need this we needed to extend this. We need to keep somebody who, when you guys hear that Buffalo is doing horrible in the public schools, we got data now to prove it. This man has made sure that we have made moves in the last 3 years that schools across this country are looking to replicate. And he's traveling the country to do so. So anybody with a negative narrative, start talking to him about what's positive, and it's that guy right there. I support you, and I hope everybody else. I used to come at the board and go after the 38 superintendents before you, and then get your time down. I appreciate you, and speaking for the community, I know I represent
define that word and how it defines the work that we do. Why it is so important to everyone that we get into the work, that we continue the work, that we perfect the work. And as Jennifer said, my colleague said, you have put this district, I think, on the map as one to be a model for other districts across this country. And that hasn't been easy. It's been hard work. It's been 4 long years of very hard work, but the results are now apparent. We're reaping the fruit of the work that we've done together as a district. I leave, at this particular juncture, feeling very, very positive about what has been accomplished and what is yet to be accomplished under the education bargain and the education bargain squared, I think, along with all of the other programs that we are improving and expanding and making it simpler. And under your leadership, I think that we have truly achieved a turnaround this year. And I know that we will be moving forward because once you turn around, you're not going back. We are not going back. When initially the idea was floated about extending the contract, I had some objections to it because I really thought that we were talking about renegotiating the contract. And that, I think, is the job for the new board. But I think at this particular juncture, as this board leaves, it's very appropriate for us to extend the contract to give you and the new board an opportunity to develop relationships that we understand the work as we have come to understand it. And so I'm very pleased to support this motion, and I believe my colleagues, as they've spoken, also will support it, but I will ask for a roll call vote. Because I want to go on the record that we have all supported this because I think it's an extraordinary accomplishment that you have made here, and I think we need to make sure that it is reflected in it.
On the motion to extend the board's contract with Dr. Cash for an additional year through August 23rd of 2021, how do you vote, Mrs. Feldman?
Yes.
Dr. Harris-King?
Absolutely.
Ms. J?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci?
It is my pleasure to vote for the contract.
Thank you. Martin, yes. Ms. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Absolutely.
And President Everett?
Yes.
It unanimously passes.
Alex, thank you so much for your kind words and for your genuine, heartfelt words. To hear that from you means more than you can know. Superintendent is the only employee of the board, and often we're consumed by so many issues that we don't get to tell each other how we feel about each other. And I always said we should do it while we're living, not just at our funeral service. So it's good to hear that from you. I want to say that Buffalo has surprised me. I have fallen in love with Buffalo. I have fallen in love with Buffalo. So many people that aren't from Buffalo. You got to know Buffalo to know Buffalo and to feel Buffalo. I always thought it was just the white guy with the red paint on his head and the blue paint on his chest in sub-zero weather and the snow falling all around him. Buffalo Bills game. But there's more to Buffalo than that. And let me just tell you this, in all honesty and seriousness. The children here are absolutely fabulous and precious. They are precious. They're some of the most talented, most resilient, toughest, grittiest, don't quit, don't care what you say about them. here. That's what they tell me. I am here. Watch me, look at me, notice me. I am precious. I am God's child. And that's what we're fighting for, colleagues. The work, as we all say, we can do better in our graduation rates, and we will. We can do better in our test scores, and we will. But there's so much more to life than those few metrics that measure success. And we believe in the whole child approach to our young people. And what we know that no matter where you start from, you can grow to be as accomplished as anyone on this planet. And so this board, with a revitalized and renewed focus on student achievement, on equity, and on the beauty and value of every single child in Buffalo, I have no doubt that we're going to set for a very long time for many more children to come through that pipeline to success. But they come from tough, colleagues. If you think you know tough, you don't know tough until you know Buffalo and Buffalo children. And yet what I see and what I appreciate is they don't cry, they don't whine, they show up. And so I want to commend all of the parents and all of the families that make sure your children show up and value education. I appreciate you, parents who are our first part of the bargain. I want to appreciate and thank and commend all of the teachers. All of the teachers who believe in our children and who say, I am proud to work for the Buffalo Public Schools. I love working for the Buffalo Public Schools and the children. And we have thousands of those teachers. I want to appreciate all of the staff who come every day to serve our children. All of the staff. I want to commend our principals. We have new principals. They don't know what they don't know, and that's great. It's kind of what Larry said. They don't know really all of what they know, but they're fighting for it every day. They are fighting for it. You have tremendous principals in the district right now, and assistant principals. We want to commend that team. And then, colleagues, I want to commend my team here because they execute. They execute the bar. They're fabulous. They're fabulous. I put this team up against any team out there in public education. And of course, I want to thank my wife, Gail. I can't do this work without a true partner. And many a time, I said, I'm ready to go home. And she said, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. And when we do that, we will. But you have to have a partner to keep you sustained and healthy. And healthy. This work will kill you, frankly. It will kill you. And I'm already, never mind. Button anymore. But let me finish by simply saying that teamwork is what this is about. That's my main point, colleagues. It's not about me. It's much bigger than me. And teamwork makes the dream work. That's our mantra. And the board has been a team. The staff have been a team. The families are part of this team. And we've all now gotten into the playoffs, but we're heading for the championship. We're heading for the championship. That's our goal. God bless. Thank you so much. I'll keep going.
Okay, we're going to get to the speakers now. We appreciate the speakers' patience, but this is an important evening. But just before I do that, there are some people here who very shortly we're going to pass the torch to. I'd like to recognize and give meeting. Please be reminded that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting open to the public and televised locally. Attendees and viewers include persons from throughout Western New York, including children. The board asks that speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous, bearing in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is an opportunity for Buffalo's residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serve the public interest and district mission, and the board asks that speakers demonstrate appropriate decorum. There are 2 microphones, one here and one there, and so I will call 2 speakers at a time, and you can kind of position yourself at the microphone that will make things move smoothly. Also, I want to say that I understand the microphones are at a pretty high level, so you don't have to get too close to it in order to be heard. First, I'd like to call Terry Perdue, back, and Janet Nichols registered.
Yes.
Terry Perdue first, and Janet Nichols registered? Yes. No, Terry Perdue here? Okay. And then let's see.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Board, superintendents, and our distinguished guests. I do have a copy for each of you of my remarks. So I would like to speak on 2 things, the calendar briefly, and then I will speak on pay and appreciation. Regarding the calendar, aides and assistants are subject to the calendar that the board puts out, but we have no say in it. This is unfair. We should have a vote on the calendar written expressly in our contract. It would show goodwill and that we and our input are valued as professionals. I am glad that February break was restored because we needed that before the long haul that is March. Regarding pay, aides and assistants have not had a new contract for many years. We do not look to give up the medical coverage we fought so hard for to get from the board, since we also have very little to even give up. Additionally, the low salary makes it tougher to recruit and retain talent. We only demand to be paid commensurate for and keeping with the hard work that we do. We want a cost of living increase, especially since rents in Buffalo are constantly rising and a higher base pay. If we were to spread our checks throughout the calendar year, I am sure that aides and assistants would likely be making less than New York's current minimum wage. During the school day, you see us in the cafeterias, the hallways, the in-school suspension, on hand and dismissal, and yet we are looked at as peasants who should be grateful for employment. We celebrate the successes of our students. We advocate to help them overcome challenges and mourn when they are lost to violence. We try to impart knowledge and wisdom to them, and they see us out in the same neighborhoods they live in. More than praise, we need a raise. I do not believe that aides and assistants should have to worry about summer. We should, in fact, put summers off and not have to scramble for summer-specific jobs, which often include working with students. We should be eligible for unemployment so that we can come back fully refreshed and ready to take on the new school year. I'll just sum this up by saying unemployment for summer enjoyment. Aides and assistants are the backbone in the school community. Students notice when we are absent, and if we all were, it would be very obvious. And if the mayor and the board found money to raise its own pay, I hope that board can also find money to raise ours. We have a selfless job, but we also require a higher wage to enjoy our lives once our workday is over. Thank you, board.
Hello. Last time I was here, years ago, to talk about behavior and emotions and all that, I fell down and ripped my arm and had surgery. It was the night that my dad died. So when you were speaking, I felt the emotion. And it's interesting you're talking about emotions tonight, because Dr. Brenner, I have to tell you, as a retired school counselor, but subbing in the schools, you know I'm crazy, but I love it. You understand emotion, and you understand that emotions motivate. But emotions can also kill in a lot of ways. And we saw these kids tonight. I wanted to see all the boys in basketball, but they left. They had more important things to do than listen to us babble. But I do want to say, the board, you know, you guys have a hard job, and I do want to say thank you, because there has been a difference in the schools. I'm not running for the board. I already have a pension. I sub in your schools. I get a paycheck. I'm doing this because my heart tells me that it's right to do. I do. And one of the things I want to say, and it's so long-winded, but I'm going to get to it, is that we need to teach about how emotional barriers stop kids from learning. And if anybody that can understand that, I worked in a jail. I worked, you know, with kids in trouble all my life. I live in Buffalo. And I know that emotions can motivate. Look, I mean, how happy people were when you were crying. When, you know, it made me feel sad. And I saw people saying that emotions motivate. But we don't teach that to our teachers or doctors or aides. We just don't understand how emotions motivate behavior. And one of the things I've learned, and I'm not bragging about me, I just want to share the experience with you, and I'm dying to just have a meeting with you. I've been trying to do it face-to-face. Sharon and I talked about it a while back, just to give you the research about how we can do behavioral coaching in the schools and make us kick ass. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. There are ways, it's major research that shows if you do behavioral coaching in a class, not programs. Oops, sorry. Did I wake you up? Sorry. Behavioral specialists read a room. Yes, I used to do stand-up comedy. I was not that funny. Now I'm doing this. But they read a room, and they read what's going on with people, and they talk, and there's back and forth. There's people in your district, and I've been in all your schools subbing. I had a kid whose pants got pulled down today, and we saw a full mouth. I just want to say that there is research that shows when we do behavior coaching in these schools, and you can do it, and it's not that much money. I just want a meeting with you, Dr. Kramer, to explain. We can do it. Thank you.
Mr. Fields? David Hampton, followed by Rose Moore. Ms. Moore, can you come down to? Ms. Moore, can you come down to this?
We're going to consolidate the time of the time that I group together. So the three behind me, Rose, Yvonne, and Robert, will consolidate our time to one speaker.
All right, but you only have 3 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
Is it 3 minutes each or 3 minutes for
3
one?
minutes.
I do.
3 minutes for
Even if we consolidate the time.
Let's take 3 minutes. That's not. Let's make it 6.
Want them to come down?
They want to support you? Yeah, if they can.
I have a concern in regards to this. In the past, when people have signed up and they have allowed someone to take over and speak for them on their behalf, they have given them their time.
No, we have not done that. We have not, I have not allowed anybody to take over somebody else's time.
We have allowed them to stand together all.
I said they could stand together.
Right.
We have not allowed somebody to take over.
I think
12 minutes.
That's not what we remember. That's not what we remember. I say that speakers can sign up and are allowed 3 minutes, but it also says that they can allow their time. They are allowed time.
Before we speak, I'd like to correct the spelling of my name. It's Robbiie.
Thank you, Ms. Lattimore.
So I understand clearly what are the rules for the speaker?
The rule for the speakers is that
Madam President, the entire, speaking on behalf of the group did not take 12 minutes. The other speakers have chosen to consolidate their time in one speech for convenience of not only the board, but ourselves as well. What is the pleasure?
I'd like you to go ahead and speak. Would y'all like to go ahead and speak?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we give them the allotted time that they would like to complete their presentation.
Motion's been made and seconded, give them the time for their presentation. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I assure you, Madam President, this is not too well done. Dr. Cash, Madam President, people that live in the East Side, alumni are present here tonight, and you see who's on it. Sounds like East is in the house. When the East Side Alumni Group, hereinafter referred to as Alumni Group, appeared before the Buffalo Board of Education in March of this year, we informed the Buffalo Board of Education year after referred to as the board that our mission is to honor and preserve the great legacy and heritage of East Side School, hereinafter referred to as East, and that we would be a voice for the voiceless, for the parents and students of East. Since that March meeting, we have met twice at East, April and May of this year. And each of those meetings, it has been made abundantly clear to us that East has some serious problems that need immediate attention by this board. They are the type of problems that are not merely beneath the surface and therefore out of sight. Rather, they are problems that are blatantly visible in plain sight for everyone to see. So let's be honest, folks. We have a lot of work to do on behalf of East. East is one of the foremost outstanding historical schools in the city. And to see it be allowed to deteriorate to the point that it has recently is abominable, to say the least. There's no one specifically to blame. Blame can be spread among a lot of entities and a lot of people. So a lot of people have a lot of work to do. But first, let me give you some historical context of the alumni groups involved at East. We have been meeting on a continuous basis at East since the beginning of the school year 2018-2019. During the school year, we have invited to our meetings various individuals affiliated with East, such as administrators, faculty, staff, students, parents, members of the Liberty Partnership Program, Say Yes Program personnel, and members of the Criminal Justice Program, and various student leaders as well as their mentors. As a result of these meetings over the last year, conversations with concerned people of East, we have found out and gotten deep into the weeds of some of the problems at East. We have assigned 2 of our members from the alumni group, Faye Fisher Austin and Yvonne James Corley, who's here tonight with us, to be our representatives with various parent organizations and to bring back to us the various concerns of the parents of the East Side students, and we would present them to the board if necessary. Moreover, following our appearance in March, 2 assistant associate superintendents of the board, James Wimmer and Sabatino Tomato, attended our April and May meetings at East. We were honored to have them at the meetings. They were kind enough to take a couple of our members to the Bennett Alumni Association and Riverside Alumni Association rooms to show us how they had done. They also informed us that problems at East the board was aware of, and that efforts were being made currently to solve some of them. Yesterday, Mr. Samato called me and we had a lengthy conversation regarding East, and I told him and gave him an overview of some of the concerns I would be speaking on behalf of the alumni group this evening. He assured me that changes were being made at East, but that they would not be made overnight. Afterwards, it reminded me of the old familiar saying that time is the enemy of all endeavors. But the Alumni Association also has a mindset that faithfulness and steadfastness to our cause, to our beloved East, is also the time of, and is the enemy of time. So just let me That seemed to be the year that the high water mark for East was made. Subsequent to 63, there was a decline and has been a continuous decline for more than 50 years in East, and it is culminated with this year. But in 1963, that night, there were 148 young ladies that graduated from East, and 81 young men that graduated from East, that represented 202 students, most of whom received Regis diplomas that night. That was 92% of the seniors available at East at that time. From that group, people went on to distinguished professional careers. As an example, our class president, Ronald Williams, graduated from college and served 30 years as a decorated FBI agent. Harriet Scruggs, our class prophet, was accepted and graduated from Ohio State University in 1967, and later served under Governor Hugh Carey's administration as health secretary. Kathleen Nagel, our class president, vice president, and valedictorian, was inducted into the National Honor Society and went on to graduate from UB Medical School and had a great career as a physician. Jonathan David Swift, our valedictorian, was accepted at Cornell University in 1963, but turned them down so he could go to the University of Buffalo, where he received 2 degrees in mathematics, and later became an associate professor in mathematics at UB. But let's put a face on some of the 63 graduates. Here with me tonight are Rose Nelson Moore, a double major and double award recipient from Buffalo State of a BS and a master's degree. She worked for a long period of time in the Office of Admissions at ECC. Also with me tonight is Yvonne James Corley, our parent coordinator for the alumni. She received a master's degree from the University of Buffalo and recently retired from Mayor Brown's administration as the Substance Abuse Director for the City of Buffalo. And last but not least, Robbie Johnson Lattimore, who received a degree from Bryan Stratton and went on to study at Canisius and UB in the fields of finance and worked for many years at the Buffalo General Hospital. And last but not least, myself, a 1974 graduate of the UB Law School, where I practiced law for 25 years in the city of Buffalo, as well as in the county of Erie and the state of New York. In the early 90s, I changed professions and became a social studies teacher for the city of Buffalo. I worked 20 years for the city of Buffalo and had some of my greatest successes as a teacher. I turned down numerous opportunities to work in administration because I wanted to work in the trenches with the students. The greatest time of my life came when, at the end of the year, I would look and find out how my students did on the U.S. history exam, only to find out that 80 to 85% of them had passed the business exam. It doesn't get any better than that. But let me give you a little bit of idea of what East High was like in 1962 and 1963. In September of that year, 1,785 students entered East High School. That was 25% more than the year before. I have the statistics, and it comes from the brochure of our graduation program, the night 1963. The stats are in there. We had numerous outstanding distinguished speakers to come and speak before East. Many of them wanted to come to East because they were graduates themselves of East High School. As an example, Justice Matthew Jason of the New York State Supreme Court came and spoke before us. Sidebar with Justice Jason. In 1984, 20 years after I graduated, I formed a law firm with his 2 sons, Peter and Mark Jason. It was known as the Jason and Hampton Law Firm. We were in the old Liberty Bank building. Had an opportunity to talk to Justice Jason that year in '84, and I thank him for coming and talking to us in '62 and '63 because he inspired me to become a lawyer. We had other outstanding speakers who came to East that year. City Court Judge Raymond Lehman and Robert Carroll, Urban Renewal Commissioner James Kavanaugh, Erie County Republican Chairman Robert Grimm, Erie County Democratic Chairman Peter Crowder, both of whom brought voter registration applications with them to make sure that those of us who are eligible to vote were registered. I've been notified I have 2 minutes, so let me move quickly. The contrast between East then and East today is glaring. And it's so unfortunate because, quite honestly, it doesn't have to be that way. We understand that there are schools that are doing much better than we are doing, and we applaud them. But there's no reason to deny East the same rights and benefits that others enjoy. Now, there may be some who feel that we should be thankful for the little that we got. But I would remind those people that in 1954, the Supreme Court in the Brown versus Board of Education made a decision that the doctrine of separate people was no longer the law of the land. And that applies to the city of Buffalo as well. And so let me just say this in conclusion to you, Dr. Cash. The East High Alumni Group is one of your strongest supporters in the community. We believe in you. And the reason we believe in you is because we've been watching you very carefully. And we see nothing but positive results from your tenure. And we know that if you allow it to continue, as evidenced by the extension of the contract tonight, things will get better. And we fervently pray that you will, wherever you go when you leave Buffalo, will also be successful. And that your legacy while you are here will be that he made sure that the have had, but he always took care of the have-nots to make sure that they had as much as well. And so, Dr. Cash, we would ask, in addition to the problems at East, which are basically, I'll summarize them, is overcrowding, okay? And I'm sure everybody's aware of that. And there are personnel in East at present, non-instructional personnel that are taking up a great deal of the room that should be used for the students. So, in conclusion, I would say and ask that Dr. Cash to address those things, and this is our promise to you tonight. When those problems are solved, we're going to take your picture and we're going to hang it in the East High Alumni Room, and there'll be a caption under that says, "Here is Dr. Cash, a true friend of East High School and an honorary graduate." Thank you.
Colleagues, I take just a quick moment. Colleagues, I've heard you and I share your views. I might meet with you. I want to meet with you, okay? So what I'm committing to right now is a meeting with you and your colleagues of the alumni group, and we're going to go through your concerns. And I will share with you, I want to hear your vision of the school, I'll share mine, and we will work these issues through sooner than later.
I truly believe
the children is urgent, but the children is urgent, and we will get it done. So we'll do that very shortly, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask all these students, previous, if you would stand, are there any here?
Thank you. Of course, I was in 1962, so I preserved.
62, 73, Dr. King. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Going to Edward Wiley and Joe Marshall. Edward Wiley. Mr. Marshall. Carolina Zimmerman. Ms. Zimmerman. Pete Jones. Followed by Mr. Perkins.
Before I start, I would like to thank you, Dr. Melinda, for the opportunities for your service. Very appreciate it. Oh, man. we have here in Buffalo. That is that everyone is treated fairly, the same. There's no exception for no one, whether you use an elected official, teacher, or anything like that, because with our policies in New York State, the only person that can come on school ground with a weapon is law enforcement. And that's something that I would adhere to, because that might be one reason why we're not having no unnecessary gun violence around our schools to this day. And I want to let you know that I depend. As an organization with BBTO, we support the amendment that y'all said, that y'all put forth with the official, that was in question about this here gun safety issue. But also there's another part of school safety that we need to talk about, and that's about first student situation. How we have all these buses transporting our kids without aid. I was sitting out, I have a tree, I sit under people in my neighborhood, no. I'm sitting under the tree the other day. God forbid, if this bus had been a minute late. 2 little girls got off, parent wasn't there, like was at everybody. We parents need to be there to pick up our kids. Bus pulls up, puts on his flashers. It's right there in the corner. 2 little girls get off the bus, and I'm looking like great parent. As soon as they foot touch the other curb, here comes a young lady driving, turning the corner about 30 miles an hour on her phone, looking down. When she looked up, all of a sudden it's the bus. But if the kids, them 2 little girls that had been there, they would have been killed. Let's not wait until we have a tragedy like that to do anything about this here situation. From my understanding, I've been talking to the driver, that contract is up at the end of the month. Y'all know that's here right now that I dealt with NFTA to straighten out the little problems we had with that. Now I want to sit down with everybody that's involved so that we can take care of this matter with first student. Because if we can take care of the high school kids, we need to take care of these little pre-K and these kids like that. Let's not let a tragedy happen before we make anything moving on this. Please, I beg of you. And I want to thank all y'all for y'all service. And now I'm going to go back into my cave and hope my back gets well.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Samuel Herbert, followed by Lisa Maximum. Lisa Maximum. Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
That's okay, my brother. Yeah. My name is Samuel A. Herbert, and I'm a concerned citizen. And I'm a black man. And I'm here to speak on another black man who is an elected official, Councilman Wingo. We are all aware of his situation. What happened, happened. But aside from that, my big concern, and I'm speaking this evening, as a black man who has a son in Buffalo's high school that's getting ready to graduate, I'm asking you, Dr. Cash, I'm asking the board to reconsider your position and grant Councilman Wingo the opportunity to attend his son's graduation. So many young black men don't have a father. Councilman Wingo's been in his son's life since he was in his mama's belly. It is only fitting you, Dr. Cash, as a black man, that you allow to people give you accolades. You don't need this white mark on your record. I ask every board member to grant the gentleman the opportunity to attend his son's graduation. That young black man, young black gentleman, do not need to have this psychological stigma attached to him for the rest of his life because his pop, his dad, could not come to his graduation. It is the right thing to do, Dr. Cash. I also want to give you your props. You've been excellent. I follow this board. I don't always attend the meetings unless it's something important. This is important to me. Allow that black man to attend that young black man graduation. His son, please. And Dr. Cash, I wanted to also say this in closing. I came down to your office to invite you to come back on my radio show twice. I didn't hear anything. You've been on my radio show twice before, but I'd like my listening audience to hear the great things that you have accomplished since you came to Buffalo. You stood there and gave praises to these students. Let that student experience seeing his mom and dad in the audience when he graduated. I ask each board member to do the right thing. And again, Dr. Cash, you have an excellent legacy. You lead the city. You don't need this white mark on your record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. Lisa Silla is not here. Doris Saylor, I understand, has her concern addressed. She is not here. Casey Bolts also indicated that they would not be here. So we'll go on to Chris Sullivan.
I have some handouts for board. Hi. Welcome. My name is Chris Salomone, and I'm on the executive board of Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization. I'm also a teacher in Buffalo. Along with Keith Jones, I'm here to voice support for tonight's resolution regarding school safety and gun violence. The BPTO believes that strict gun regulations are protecting our school communities. Since the terrible tragedy at Sandy Hook on December 14, 2012, there has been only one reported incident of gun firing inside a secondary school in New York State. That was in New York City, and it did not result in any fatalities. Buffalo Public Schools have not had any school shootings. We need to keep it that way. Strong gun laws are protecting us. When someone brings a gun into school, there are very explicit policies and procedures to follow. We respect and appreciate the superintendent and the board president have a resolution on gun safety that is before you tonight. And the BPTO wants you to know that we are in support of this. BPTO also has a resolution for you tonight to consider, and this resolution is on brief. And I'll read it to you. Whereas we are an organization that provides education for parents and caregivers, community members, and offers events to the community and highlights the positive activities in the Buffalo Public Schools. Whereas we see the desperately sad losses of students at a time to mourn and to make structural changes that will truly break cycles of trauma. Whereas we imagine Buffalo Public Schools as the front runner in a national conversation about grief and grieving. Whereas we imagine a system that is responsive to grief and allows everyone, students, parents, caregivers, aides, assistants, administrators, and other community members touched by this pain the opportunity to heal. Whereas we recognize that there are policies in place to deal with grief response in Buffalo Public Schools. Therefore, be it resolved that we call for the creation of a grief-related task force to review existing policies such as the Code of Conduct and the Wellness Policy to ensure consistent action regarding grief response. Resolved that this task force will include parents and caregivers, students, community members, district personnel, and faith-based community members. And resolved that this task force will convene and conduct this review over the summer of 2019, with the first meeting convened no later than the third week of June, with the policy in place by September 1st. And that resolution is submitted by the Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization. Thank you.
Thank you. The next group is Chris, Judy Harris, are all speaking on the subject of a board employee and the policy of the board. We ask you not to use that person's name, but to use their title. So, Judy Harris, also Ms. Melinda. Ms. Harris?
I am. My name is Judy Harris. I am a retired Buffalo Public School teacher, 30 years, and I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be offered a long-term summer position at McKinley High School. And I wanted to say that it is a very safe school. I never felt unsafe there at any point in time, nor do I feel the children feel that it's not safe. I also want you to know that while I was there from November to January, administration was very supportive, took opportunities to check in, is the term we use in education, step in the room and see how I was doing, and consistently greets you. As surprised as I look now, that's how I go. Hi, how are you? Is there anything you need? And I just wanted to share that. I now work with Buffalo State College, with future teachers, and it's a good place. It's a wonderful community in McKinley. And those are things that I have evidence of while I was there as a substitute teacher. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Denise, followed by Dana.
Good evening. I sit here today in front of you, a proud teacher who's been at McKinley High School for over 20 years, who goes to work every day to try and make a difference in the lives of her children like so many others. I have no hidden agenda but to support the school that I've been part of for so many years and the incredible students that have walked through the doors, and to acknowledge all the amazing, dedicated, and hard work of so many, past and present. Unfortunately, throughout those years, I've lived through instances of negativity being cast on our school. I'm here today because I feel it is important to focus on the positive and to tell you about the McKinley I know and have known. The entire McKinley faculty and staff have worked diligently to again obtain the status of being a school in good standing. We are all proud of this accomplishment and the success it indicates. As a school community, we continually strive for success for all our students, regardless of their background or situation. No excuses are made. Everyone is reminded daily that they can succeed. As a special education teacher, this is critical to the success and confidence of my special education students. Our overall school graduation rate continues to rise, and I'm proud to say that over recent years, our students with disabilities have had 95 to 100% graduation rate. Our school focuses and strives to create an engaging and positive school environment for all. A positive can-do attitude is evident. Students and teachers' successes are acknowledged and celebrated by administration publicly through shout-outs, awards, Teachers of the Month, and many other accolades. Students are also afforded many opportunities to engage in social events that are critical to making them well-rounded and creating bonds, such as student spirit assemblies and more recently homecoming basketball games for local police. This year, seniors were celebrated for the many accomplishments with the Senior Week, filled with many activities such as senior breakfast, senior picnics, and other events. We all know that student and parent engagement is crucial, and it continually strives to evolve all in our culture. Our vision has been brought into the 21st century by utilizing social media as an outlet to engage and inform all stakeholders through utilizing Twitter and Facebook. Through these vehicles, we've also been able to build our alumni base. Other positive community connections have been fostered through our state-of-the-art vocational programs that link with local colleges like Alfred State, as well as the Urban Teacher Academy linked with Buff State. Also providing all our vocational students with an alternate pathway with receipt of their CDOS credential. McKinley has also strived to form positive relationships with Buffalo Police Department and other community organizations so vital to the lives of our students. At McKinley, we continually engage in new initiatives and strategies to support our students and better prepare them for their future success. We strive for excellence inside and outside the classroom. No school or person in it is perfect, but at McKinley, I can assure you that we continue to grow, improve, and strive for excellence. We are doing our best to encourage and support all our students, together with faculty, staff, and administration, and I assure you that this is not always easy. I would ask you all to please support our school and children, and should choose to be part of the solution, not the problem. And I leave you with the words of the great Dr. Martin Luther King. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. Thank you.
Mrs. Michael Harris, followed by Mary Donaldson.
Good evening, everyone. I came here to speak on behalf of McKinley. I'm an alumni of the school, also work at the school currently, head football coach interim, and like the negativity that's been going on about my school. I want to say my school because I said I met my wife at my school, and I completely am disgusted by the negativity that's surrounded building of education where we have a predominantly black association. I sit here and scratch my head because I just want to make sure all my words come out correctly. We have to stop this. We have to stop the negativity for our children because every time we put negativity out, the negativity is shown on TV. Our kids watch TV. My kids watch TV. I have 3 kids at a high school student who's Burger. He watches TV. He calls me after that. What's going on at McKinley? And that's a concern of mine because me being a private of McKinley, United States Marine Corps vet, I have a degree in history, minor in coaching from Buffalo State College. You know, it's really hard for me to explain to my children that the school I work in is unsafe when it's not unsafe because I'm there. It's not unsafe because we have black men roaming the halls all day. It's not unsafe because we have teachers who actually love our students. It's not unsafe because we have administrators that love our students. So that's just that's all I wanted to really say. And everyone that's on the board, I appreciate everything you do. I know it's probably hard doing this job. So that's it.
Dr. Bush.
Good afternoon. Dr. Cash, Dr. Emerald, would you please instruct me before I begin my remarks on how I am to refer to the individual in question? My principal. Principal? Okay. Let the clock start. My name is Dr. Kushke Margwaj. I want to thank Dr. Cash and Dr. Emerald for their visionary and strong leadership and transformational leadership in the city of Buffalo. I want to let you know who I am. I have one of the most unique teaching backgrounds in Buffalo. 3-time winner of the Milton Plesser Distinguished Teaching Award at the University of Buffalo. I have a TED Talk called Does African American Studies Matter? And I was named the top African American Studies professor in the nation by the anonymous student website RateMyProfessor.com. I say that to tell you who I am, because I have a strong belief in the difference between a scholar and an educator. There's a strong difference between a principal and a leader. I'm here to speak in support of the principal in question. The Buffalo Public Schools talk about responsive, relevant, renewing. This principal doesn't run from students, he runs to them. This principal is culturally relevant, and I am living proof that culturally relevant educators are getting blocked from teaching our kids about culturally relevant pedagogy that some of the people in this room are quite well aware of. Renewing. I see a lot of things, to echo the coach's remarks, I see a lot of things about the media, about actions outside the campus. High school is supposed to prepare you for college. College is supposed to prepare you for the real world. McKinley High School has more students going to Medaille College than any other Buffalo public school, any other Say Yes qualified school, including the 5 charter schools qualified for Say Yes. This principal in question is a transformational educator. I want to say clearly that he literally leads students to their future, and that is what makes him renewing. More students come to Medaille than any other private college. Medaille College accepts more Say Yes students than any other private college in the nation. Medaille College accepts more Say Yes students than any other college, four-year college in Buffalo. I want to salute the fine work that the principal in question is doing, and his staff, and his support of his staff, particularly the counselor, whose initials are DC. I apparently have to keep it clean here. I was a founding charter school at Pierson Charter School in Central Park Plaza, and I learned firsthand that the strengths of a school reflect its principal, the weaknesses of a school reflect its principles. I see nothing but strengths in this principal. He is responsive, he is respected, he is effective. He's a transformational educator, and I heard the superintendent talk about irreplaceable. This principal is irreplaceable. Thank you for your time.
I'm Sherry Burns, North Buffalo resident, a mom of a Buffalo Public Schools grad, former board member, and currently my hat tonight is a member of the BPTO and a citizen who cares for our city, our children, and the quality of public education we provide in the present for the future. In education, we strive to teach and model higher qualities of shared values. Those include mercy, justice, fairness, and equality in their application. So how do we respond when a person, a visible public parent, comes into a school building carrying a gun? What is the example we need to set for children who are watching? We heard all about kids watching. For a community too often wrapped by horrific violence in a school building, a place meant to be a sanctuary. Mercy, justice, fairness, and equality. As parents and school community, we want current existing policies on gun safety followed. We want to make certain that all parents are treated the same and that there's no special dispensation of the rules. Mercy is not being arrested as most other parents likely would have been. Justice may be what follows. We believe that the reason the Buffalo Public Schools have not seen horrific school shootings as in other parts of the country, in part is because of the strong and clear policies that mandate that schools must be free from guns in New York State. Toward maintaining that safety and peace in our schools for students and the entire school community, the BPTO supports and commends the board and the administration on your willingness to take a stand, despite the fact that this is a rather sticky political situation. In closing, I'd like to say, first of all, congratulations to everyone who's graduating and to the families that have been there and supported them to get there. And I would like to offer my personal thanks to those who are leaving the board board after this month for having given so much of your time and your best talent. Thank you to those who are returning. As a veteran, I feel qualified to say this, even as you know what this job is about. And welcome to those newly elected and willing to serve our children. You are in for an education no one could buy. I wish you all well, and I thank you, Dr. Cash, for your work and for your dedication to our children and our city.
Colleagues, I don't have a lot of comments regarding the speakers. I thought all the speakers spoke to the point and need not be amplified this evening. I did want to make that special outreach to the E-Tire alumni, a iconic high school here in the city of Buffalo. We certainly want to not only hear their concerns, but engage them and help us make that school a great high school again for all of its students. The only other comment I would make, colleagues, I wanted to say to Sam Herbert, my apology if you hadn't had a response from me. I hadn't heard that you had invited me to your radio show. And so certainly I would be happy to come on your show and discuss this matter with you and any of your constituents. And we'll have a conversation. Okay? All right, sir. So thank you to all the other speakers. And as I said, I thought they spoke to the point. I need not amplify. Thank you, President Everett.
Thank you. Board members, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of May 15, 2019? So moved. Trustees, seconded. Ms. Woods, all in favor? Opposed? None. Committee reports. We start with Dr. Pierson.
Going to pass today. I've been, as usual, during the month visiting my school and attending special meetings with Bill and other students. Things are going well. I just want to thank Dr. Cash's cabinet, who has been instrumental in my learning these 6 years. And I just want to thank all of them. They are superb. And of course, Dr. Brown Paul and Nate Kuzma. That is my report.
Thank you. On 14th of May, I attended the East Zone Say Yes. Will Green invited me to see what's going on the east side of Buffalo with the community schools. Very impressed with that young man. May the 20th, I attended the Parent Congress Disproportionality Meeting, which is hosted by Dr. Fatima Morel. Dr. Cash, I'm very impressed with the work that's being done with that study. Thank you. May the 21st, I attended the CPAC annual meeting at the Emerson Commons. To the board members, if you do not have anyone who is currently assigned, please consider the names that you will have, because one of the first order of business that we should do with the new board is to make sure that that committee is adequately attended. It's a very important committee. May the 22nd, I attended the Richmond Speaking Contest and had the pleasure of talking with a local anchor woman who is interested in helping us. She works at Channel 7. Her name is Ashley, and she's interested in helping us to make that program better. And she's willing to do it on a volunteer basis. We also discussed the possibility of doing something with her feeder school or her home school from Toronto with our children in Buffalo, and international relationships. So those are great things that came as a result of the Richmond Speaking Contest. Kudos to those young people who studied and really illustrated their talents. On the 24th of May, I attended the McKinney Ventro Advisory Board. On the 27th, our team meeting with Empire State and Alfred State College. On the 29th, the Buffalo Urban League graduation and scholarship event that they had. They had approximately 20 graduates in addition to the scholarships that were awarded. My Book Club for the first time. The Sister Shack Book Club provided a scholarship, and I encourage other people to provide scholarships. It's not that difficult to make sure that our young people have means money when they attend college. On June the 3rd, I met with OCS with several new board members, including the president of the Teachers Union, the Williamses over on Sullivan, have put together a mini Buffalo Bills, I guess. They're training people, they're educating people, and they're using their own funds to do it. So kudos to the Williamses for the work that they're doing on the east side of Buffalo. June the 4th, East High Alumni Meeting. I will assure you that I did not know exactly what they were going to speak about, but I do know that this is an opportunity to have an alumni group in a school, and I'm glad to see, Dr. Cash, that you're going to take them up on their offer to me. I also attended on that day a fundraiser for Groundworks, and this organization is working within our community to teach our young people how to work the land and to grow their own food. June the 6th, I attended the Hampton Park Taxpayer Association meeting, and kudos to Larry Quinn for inviting me to the Assembly House to see their graduation program. I attended that with Larry and Patty Pierce, and very impressed with the work that they're doing over there. They are taking people and giving them gainful employment from the public assistance roles. So that's a really important program. We also work that with our CCI Institute, which is right next door to them. June the 12th, Buffalo Academy of Performing Arts had to go give a support to Dr. Barbara Nevergold and her friend Peggy with their with the place with our students who performed Go Tell Michelle. Our students are just excellent. I'm sure Barbara will talk a little bit about that. June the 5th, at our executive affairs, we talked about the board policy, which is being voted on today. Okay, our board policy, the board worked this year to update our policy manual. In addition to that, we talked about the superintendent's evaluation. We're proud to have the past couple of days to work with that as a group. I just encourage us in moving forward to do more one-on-one together. The board members working together on issues as well as with the superintendent. So one of the ideas that came up is that we're talking about maybe having some casual dinners together, get to know each other a little bit better. We also talked about policy 3411, which deals with weapons on our school ground, and as a result, we have a resolution that will be presented today. June the 13th, I attended another McKinney Venture Advisory Board meeting. This is a project that I will be working on this summer because there are so many agencies that are out there and no one is working to pull them all together to make sure that they support our children who are homeless and or couch surfers or whatever they're doing as far as without a permanent roof over their head. June the 14th, I attended Les Leopold's retirement party, and I really am going to miss Les. Les has just been one of those people that really has the heart for the least of these in our district, and we want to continue to see this work grow. June the 19th, which is today, I met with David Russ. I took with me or invited Neil Dobbins so that David Russ could get to know Mr. Dobbins from the MVP. It was a great meeting. As a result of that, David is encouraged to know that we have a authentic parent group that is focused in on uplifting parents and doing great things. In addition to that, David and I discussed an idea that I came up with when I attended the mayor's reading program launch. And we talked about the math. How do we bring math into this equation? How do we figure out a way that we can give our children incentives for math? So David wants to be a part of that. I've spoken to Otis Parker, who works for the mayor, in regards to that. I've also reached out to some of our math people. David wants to put together a meeting and see how we can structure that. Dr. Cash, I'm not sure if we can do it like the mayor does it during the summer. We might have to do it through the year. So school, I'll be asking you to assist us with that as well. And for my summer projects, I have identified the math project, the McKinney-Ventro, parent engagement, and involvement to try to make sure that our parents are up and ready when school starts to be able to deal and be more active in our schools and participate a little bit more. And whatever else the new board decides that we need to do. Thank you.
Ms. Brooks? I'll be more brief. On June 1st, I attended the graduate dinner where they hired our board president, Dr. Neverhall. June 5th, we had the finance and ops meeting where our superintendent presented us a plan on how to move forward on achieving an MBE, WBE contract, increasing contracts, and he assigned a staff person to make this a reality. Our community commends you for that. I attended the MVP meeting and was part of their training on when a parent asks for help. How do you teach them what they can do? I was very impressed with their training. June 14th, Flag Day, I marched with 600 children down Main Street, and they proudly wore the flag and recognized what the flag means to them as Americans. Juneteenth, I marched in the parade with the Jesse Clipper Post and showed our pride in our heritage. Let's see. June 17th and 18th, we just had the evaluation. We had our meetings for evaluating the superintendent. And I also attended the graduation for the adult education. I think Sharon was out there with me. And I commend Leslie Poe for all of his hard work. Mr. Petrucci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Neverhall. It's June and it is the time for retirement party. So I was sad to see Mark Lambert early go, and then we recognized Leslie Poe, Sharon and I were both there. And Andrea Norton, who I've worked with many of my daughters in the athletic department. I'm a little concerned though with the present state of the athletic department so close to the fall opening with both senior staff members not there. I attended the BPS Adult Education graduation as well, which is always one of the most memorable events because each child has a story, and it truly means so much for them to get that piece of paper. DPC, I went to recognize Sam Ladford. It's been fun to see Sam's story arc over the years. But Sam has always tried to improve the district, even though we may not see eye to eye. And now with the Sierra Club, who's very continuing concerns about solar power and a variety of other things. Myself and a variety of other board members also attended the NAACP there. I went to the PTO meeting. I did also go to the Erie County Association of School Board dinners. I hope all the retiring board members got their recognition certificates. That's part of the reason why I went. I went to the Assembly House, but I missed my fellow board members. I did attend the BPS Institutional Advisory Committee, where that's where they do cosmetology and barbering, and it was great to hear people speak about how those programs have impacted their lives. I went to the Hillside graduation at Buff State, which was great to see those kids and what they're going on. I went to the Conspicuous Service Cross presentation at South Park for all the people that were awarded Purple Hearts with guidance service of our country. And it was a very impressive ceremony. And last, I don't want to do this, but I want to thank Dr. Rosser for all the student placement questions that I've bothered him with these last few weeks as we get prepared for the next school year. So I tip of the hat to Dr. Rosser. Thank you very much.
Ms. Pierson.
As you know, Dr. Neverhall, we suspended our meeting last week, and so there was no educational support committee meeting. But in closing tonight, I would just like to say that I thank you very much for the opportunity to have served as the chair of that committee. I'd like to particularly thank Dr. Eric Rosser. He was very, very easy and very accommodating to work with, and I hope that whoever my successor is on that committee
just want to acknowledge,
Be careful.
I don't want to acknowledge some
Be
people.
careful with your box. Looks like it's going to fall.
Oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to acknowledge a few people that I think rarely go noticed. First, let's see, Jeffrey Richard took over a tough role. He's always hiding. He doesn't want me to ask him any questions, but he took over a very tough role. Barbara Smith was an institution here, and Jim Barnes, who I would include in this comment, I really believe they are as good as any private sector people I work with. I think they represent you extremely well. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of knowing where the money is. It's critical. I think before it changed, I know I pushed you very hard, Jeff, but I think you responded very well. Nate Kuzma, I'd say the same thing. I think our first meeting, I beat you up pretty good. I think Nate Kuzma is one top lawyer. I don't think you'll hold on to him too long. I think he'll be a great lawyer in a major firm. And he's terrific. And I'm not excluding anyone by reference. And Darren, before Darren, I didn't want to acknowledge Lisa and Emily. I don't see any here, but they've also been so good as a board member. And Darren, you're just so even keeled. I like the fairness that you bring to your job. I like the fact that probably all of us from time to time just really are pretty tough on you, and you never are rattled. I was so proud of the way you handled your son's situation last year in a sport that I love a lot, and I was embarrassed.
I don't have anything to report that hasn't already been covered by everyone else who's gone before me. I just want to extend my appreciation to you, Dr. Evergold. I can't express in words how much it has meant to me having you as the board president these 3 years. I have learned a tremendous amount from you, and I appreciate so much how you supported me and all the other, when we were the new board members, and the guidance and everything that you've given me. So I just wanted to publicly state that you are the epitome of grace. And I've learned so much from you. So thank you so much for being a mentor. And to everyone else, Dr. Tig and to Patty and Larry, I've appreciated very much everything I've learned from you as well. You are all senior. I was a brand new person when I got here. I learned something from each and every one of you. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best in your future.
Ms. McCosey.
I also feel like there was so much covered that I don't really need to get into appreciation and thanks. I want to extend to the community the support. I tried to come up with this uplifting the schools on Facebook, any school in my district, working with their administrators and the students and the teachers, and not saying good kudos to Jen, but encouraging everybody in this room that's left. Also stating that we have 3 students whose job it is to take time out of their day. They're from an organization I'm affiliated with, but they sat here for 90% of this meeting with no connection or ties to anything but to be dedicated to being here every single meeting. So we need to make sure that students are uplifted and teachers and folks who are uplifted who are coming here just to be a part of what we're doing and to gain the knowledge that we have to give. And as far as, Dr. Nevergold, so many times I think I've called you maybe really close to where you should be asleep just because I'm that frustrated. I'm a very emotional person. I respond to things immediately, and you guys would all have been in on a crazy adventure if I was to just respond publicly to things I ran through her first. Teresa, God, if something's going on that I don't know about, she's going to let me know and force me to make sure I do something about it. I love you for that. And I did learn a lot from the experience that was going on here. And Larry and Patty are, it's not as if, it's a secret where things lie, but at the same time, Larry, your connection with sports, the coaching, the way that we view how things should be handled, and grandparents, new grandparents, and we connected on that level. So the best to everybody, and you. I'm just going to see you everywhere. I think your name is going to be in lights. So given to this board, and I hope that you're growing someone to take your place, you know, that would be just as great.
Thank you, and that's appropriate, and go to Maria.
I'm not gonna cry, I promise. So on June 6th, I attended the Inter-High School Council, and schools were talking about what they did this year, which is they were talking about their Red Ribbon Week, and they did activities such as compliment day, and basically you go to somebody, you compliment them, you get a thank you card, and then you receive some gifts and stuff like that. That was a very nice day. At Dimension we did that. And then we did mental health awareness, and then we did some workshops with recent workouts, talking about your feelings and some other fun stuff. And then moving on to June 14th, on Friday, June 14th, the United Da Vinci High School students were also asked to wear blue to support and to know about what's going on in Sudan. If you don't know what's been happening in Sudan, please watch the news. So yeah, that was a very special day for us, and we learned a lot. And we learned about things what's been happening throughout the country. I mean, throughout the world, not just our country. Thank you so much to everyone. And I'm not gonna cry, so I'm just gonna stop right there.
And if she leaves after this, because she needs to go home and get ready for school tomorrow.
Madam President, can our student representative share what her future plans are?
Oh, yes. So, I'm actually going to Turkey on the 27th of June, and I'm going to go there to talk to United Nations to see what can I do in college and how can I work with them. And further on with my life, I want to work with the NBC and bring immigrants to America or do something with the immigrants. So yeah, I'm going to upstate, starting in the fall. Woo-hoo! I don't know if you guys know that I work at the hospital. I work at Oshai in Jericho Road. I'm an interpreter, and I help like immigrant women give birth and interpreter for them. Even though I don't like medical things, but so if anything doesn't work out, I'm just going to switch to medical. Thank you.
Now, people may wonder why we do this in terms of spending time in individual board reports, but it really does show the depth to which board members are engaged and involved in the activities of this district. So it's not just coming to a meeting, going home, making policy, signing whatever resolutions and so forth. These are people who are out in the district doing the work. I think that requires our board members to understand who it is they represent and why it's so important. You've heard the diversity of activities that board members have been engaged in outside of these meetings. I've been involved in some of them as well, so I won't go into that except just to say, again, on June 12th, Sharon mentioned, and Teresa was there as well, the play that I have to co-write based on a book that I could write, Hotel Michelle, African American Women Write to the First Lady, or Speak to the First Lady, was performed by students at the Performing Arts, and it was fantastic. It had video. I just want to say again, it demonstrated how not only the students, but they had a teacher who was directing them with that, and she's phenomenal. So we have phenomenal students, and we need to celebrate them every time and every way that we can. Finally, I said I didn't know I was going to do my about, where we were when we first started. Mary, we certainly, haven't seen eye to eye, but I respect you, respect your knowledge, certainly the fiscal issues, and, we listen. You may not have always agreed, but I listen to what you said, and I appreciate that. And all I can say is that we've gone through a crucible, and you know what a crucible does? It burns off the drop, so it is what it is. And that's what we got. So on that note, we're ready to move on to the business. For a motion to accept the consent agenda. Let's get Dr. Pierson, second. Mr. Petrucci, Baker. Okay. It seems that I have the first item of question on 11B. And I think I asked this question last time. This is a partnership between Buffalo State and Riverside in which the district employs or funds a staff person to work with our students on developing the blue ecology program. Is that right?
Correct, that's correct.
And my question was, we are funding this position at the time, but yet the person is on Buffalo State's campus. I just wonder why that person isn't housed where the students are.
There actually is dual location of that person. They have office at Riverside and at Buffalo State. We are actually supporting a partnership with the Economic Development Center at Buffalo State. So this person is the liaison, gives us access to the resources at the Travel and Tourism Program, the Small Business Innovation Center, and the Great Lakes Research Lab. So our students are able to get out on the boats, doing collection with the Great Lakes researchers, and this person works outside of Buffalo State to make those connections happen, so we're able to get those trips to students.
And how's the time split? Is it 50-50 or?
I would say 40 at Riverside, 60% at Buffalo State.
Okay. Answer my question. Yeah. Thank you. All right, on to 14D.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. I was just looking for an additional explanation as to not sufficient. This was only brought up for the board retreat. I just want to know what wasn't sufficient.
I'm sorry, I was.
Sorry about that. So 14D was the work education fall retreat. When we received the invoice last month, there was not enough money approved in September prior to the retreat, so we need an additional $1,200 approved for the airfare, the accommodations, and things for Mr. Cassidy and Mr. Curley to pay for.
And that was in the original invoice or the original scope of work?
The scope of work, they actually, the retreat itself was done free of charge because we are members of the Council of Great City Schools, but we had to pay for their airfare and their accommodations. We said we would pay for it. So we were invoiced last month for that. What we had was a little deficient, so we had to put in more money in this board to have it approved.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
Mr. Petrucci, I think we have the next item, 17.
Thank you, Dr. Neville. Yeah, this is about our waste collection and recycling. And that earlier I did look for the recycling ordinance. There were some questions about cost. My only concern is that I'm reading of the scope of work in the schools that are going to be there, that we'll have 10 schools that don't have recycling. So that to me is a concern because we're not complying with either city or state policy regarding that.
So that's your comment. Okay, we are now on to 24B. Question, Mr. Petrucci, and followed by Mr. Clinton. We are going to pull 9A, line 185. Line A, number 1A, or item A.
9A, line 185.
9A, line 185 is going to be removed from the agenda. For now. Next question. Any questions before we move on? Yes.
We have a question. We thought we were going to executive session to discuss an item under, I think, 9D.
We are going to go into executive session.
And so I just told you we were not.
After we complete the consent agenda.
Right, so is that issue going to be,
I think that would be the time to ask a question about that issue, since we were moving in from the consent agenda.
oh, it is the rule?
Yes.
I didn't understand that. We didn't talk about it.
Oh, that's not right.
9A,
9A.
9A, line 185 goes to the teacher who is considering, who will be resigning as opposed to the termination that's listed. So that's why we're going there.
And so we do have an executive session to discuss a number of items.
Okay, so that item under also the 9D should be pulled if I remember right as well. We're going to have a conversation on that today.
Which one are we talking about?
I don't have it in front of me. Okay, it's number 7 on 9D. Or is it?
So 9 is.
What is it? I don't know. It's been given out of time. But my understanding is we're going to have that conversation. That's what we agreed to on Monday. And we had a conversation.
9C, 9C.
Here it is. Here it is. There. This is the item. Okay? Yes.
So the board is asking that line 9C, line 7.
It's 9C. Okay, you got it. Okay.
So at this point, we will be voting on consent agenda, removing item 9C, line 7, and 9A, line 185. And the resolutions are separate? The resolution and the policies will be voted on separately. All right,
Just
Mr.
a clarification, Dr. Everett, so lines 9A, 185 is being pulled, that won't be voted on tonight. Line 9C, line 7 is being tabled for the time being, pending the discussion in executive session. At that point, the board may reserve the right to vote.
Correct.
All the board members know what that item is. You know what that item is. You know what that item is.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. So we just want to be clear with regard to the calendar, because there's been so much controversy about the calendar. I just want it to be made clear to the public, because we're voting on it in the consent agenda. It's 21A.
I'm sorry.
I think you're asking us to know what 9C is.
What is it, Sally? What is it that you're willing to discuss in executive session?
Well, if it's a personnel issue, can you at least bring it up in executive session so we know what we're being asked to?
Well, you're voting. You're voting.
Okay.
You don't need to vote.
Can we just make it clear for the public what we're voting?
So you're proposing that 9C be discussed? Okay. That's fine.
We have not typically voted.
I'm confused.
What do you want me to do?
So we're going to deal with 9C proposing to us is not the calendar you wanted to implement. It's a calendar, it's the union calendar?
Correct.
Okay. They didn't budge at all?
No.
Thank you.
Because the default calendar is a 42-week calendar, and it doesn't have the February break, students will have to start later.
Is there a need to table this so that people have a better understanding of what we're talking about during this calendar?
Well, I can tell you what I think some of the concern is around this if we table it. You know, the principals, there's a lot they can't do without an agreement of the calendar.
No, I don't think table it for another time, just while we're in executive session and come back and hold on.
I think we're kind of not being as clear as some of the board members have asked. We did get to here on 43. We had a 43-week calendar that the district proposed and a 43-week calendar that the BTF proposed. So we got to here, but we couldn't get it to anybody to budget from there. So in my own experience in this work, colleagues, there are a lot of things that we have to do and work on and get bogged down at this late hour on this degree of separation. It's not a line in the sand. It's not so much that it's a line in the sand between the BTF that would budge and then you would budge. I just think it's not responsible or good education for planning for going forward to recommend in all good conscience a 42-week calendar that for many of our families in a tough spot. We wouldn't get that attendance during that whole week if the suburbs were out. We tried to align our calendar as much as possible to the region. And then a 44-week calendar, we weren't going to be able to make any progress. So we're very close to what we wanted, and I would recommend us approving the 43-week calendar that is on the docket, and then let's move on to bigger and better things, colleagues. We got to start, the families and the schools have to start planning for next year, and we're already late on this issue.
Maria, you go first if you want.
So I know Dr. Common told me to ask the students, and a lot of my teachers, they made us vote on the calendars, and then I believe all of them picked on the one with the February break. So, yes.
I'm going to vote no on this, but I want to say that for new board members who are here, the priority should be children, and unfortunately with this group it rarely is. And it's terrible. It's a one-way street. It's what's good for my constituents, what's good for adults, and it's, you know, this is cockeyed, it's upside down. It should be about children, it should be about good education practice. I don't know, you'll get it passed, I'm sure, tonight, because you have to plan for next year, but it's disgraceful.
Thank you. Just want to say that I agree with you that the whole process around getting to this, where we are with the calendar, but I feel that not accepting this calendar leaves us with a default for the 42 week, which would be no February break, and I think that that's unfair to students and families as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the predicament you're in because you're put there by people that don't care about kids. I get it. My point, I'm not saying, I know you have to pick out the calendar. I know the default position puts you in the worst position. My point is, when in the world is this guy and this group ever going to put up what they say? They say they care about kids, they say they care about education, and they never, never, never act that way. And at some point, people have to stand up and say no. I understand why you can't say no today. They're masters at putting you in a corner, and then you're at a deadline, and then you have to plan for next year, and then we accept half a loaf. Not half a loaf, we accept a crumb. You won't hear from me anymore on this, but I'm not going to leave here without saying what I think.
It's fine. I think we're ready for roll call. resolution will be voted on separately as well as the policies. So, schools,
I make consent agenda, having line 9A, 185 hold, line 9C, line 7 table, and anything in 24 will be discussed separately. Mrs. Sullivan, how do you vote?
No exceptions.
Dr. Harris Day.
Recuse myself on 11B and K. I'm Professor Emeritus at Buffalo State.
11B and K. And other than that, no exceptions.
Other than that, no exceptions. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Gay.
No exceptions.
Mr. Posey.
No exceptions.
Mr. Petrucci.
Exception for 17L and 28.
17L and 28. Ms. Pierce.
I'm going to vote no on 21A.
Mr. Quinn.
Voting no on 19A and 21A.
Ms. Woods.
No exceptions.
President Everett.
recuse on 11C and 11D. My husband works for those entities in after school, and otherwise no exception.
The consent agenda passes. Thank you.
So now we need to vote to move the table. So I have a motion to remove 23, board policies from the table. Oh, is that correct? Yes. I have a motion to remove Ms. Dalton Collins, second Mr. Petrucci. We've had a lot of discussions on this.
24.
24, thank you. So just.
What are we talking about here?
The policy, they have to be removed.
This is policies first.
Is that related to the resolution? No.
We'll get to the resolution next. Any questions regarding 24A? Yes.
And the new policy manual, first time since 2002. How do you vote, Mrs. Duncan?
Yes, I vote yes.
Dr. Harris Day.
Yes.
Ms. Jay.
Yes.
Ms. McCosey.
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci. Yes. Ms. Pierce.
Yes.
Mr. Quinn.
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
President Everett.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
All right, moving on to 24B, resolution. As if there are questions from Mr. Petrucci and Mr. Petrucci.
Thank you, Dr. Everett. I would say that the problem that I have is a few different ones. First being, if you would have told me 6 months ago that that elected official would want to come into one of our schools and the district attorney wasn't going to do anything, I would have asked for my money back if I went to go see a psychic. I just wouldn't believe that would occur. I just find it amazing. Puts the board in a position where we have to take some type of action. We can't have this occurring. Our schools have to be sanctuaries. Teachers, students, parents, staff, everyone has to feel safe in our schools. The problem that I have, though, is that we have identified an individual and it becomes personal. That I really think that this resolution shouldn't be about specifically Councilmember Lingo, that it should be a policy in general. We always talk about governance. Governance versus operations. Governance is the policy that the board makes. Operations is what happens during the day. This really should be something that not just for the good council member, but whoever it may be, anybody that comes into our schools should receive the same type of punishment. If heaven forbid this happens again, I don't want to be passing individual resolutions for what anybody that comes into our school has done. This should be about the policy, about everybody, not about an individual, about everybody, to ensure that this is a policy. It's not about an individual. Policy is for anybody that comes into our schools. The only thing I think that, and I'll start my comments with that right now, but
But that is the main problem that I have with this. Again, it's not about policy, it's not about coverage, it's about the individual. It really should be highlighted.
Mr. Quinn?
Yeah, bear with me because I have a little bit to say. We were in this chamber, I guess, I don't remember, but it was in January over the Palladino affair. And I want to make certain things, the reason I bring this up, I want to make clear where I'm coming from. And maybe I ought to start over. Despite what Wikipedia says, I'm not a Republican. I've been a registered Democrat for 49 years. And I'm saying this for a reason, because I don't want people piggybacking on what I have to say. I am a strong advocate against guns. I have believed since June '68 that there should be handguns in the United States. So I'm not an advocate for gun rights or anything like that. There are, during my course of my years here, I did a lot of work through Mary Ross, who's a wonderful guidance counselor at Burgard, and tried to help kids. She called out this kid, help that kid, this kid's in trouble. Let me read you a few of their names. Leo Thagard, who's an MSU student. Christian Piazza, who Mary got a job at Wegmans, bagged the groceries. He was a kid that I knew well. Lee Holland, I gave his diploma at Burgard 1 year. Shannara Naylor, Shanice Gamblin. They all have something in common. They were murdered by handguns. They were our students. None of them were murdered by a person with a registered handgun. They were murdered by somebody who illegally had a handgun. Now, when I brought up the Palladino situation, Patty Pierson and I were sitting in these same seats, and one of the things I asked, because I've known Carl for a long, long time, and I said, I abhor what he said, I abhor what he did, but I did not believe, because knowing this person, that he's a hateful person, and I asked that people consider giving him a second chance and giving him an opportunity to atone. I'm not trying to rehash that, but during that time, the person that jeered me the most was sitting right behind me, was Ulysses Wingo. He was snickering, making comments through the whole thing, very disrespectful. So I'm not carrying on Ulysses Wingo's water here either. I could care less. But our job is for children. And there's a child involved here who's not going to have his parents at his graduation because of nothing that he did. And we are here for children. And my personal belief, and that doesn't apply to just Ulysses Wingo. I think that Sharon's right who told me that other parents have been banned from the building, and I don't agree with that either. Mafia murderers are allowed out of jail to attend their daughters' weddings and family events. And our job here is to look out for children. It's right in our mission. And again, I rarely agree with Mr. Herbert. I don't like all his references to race. I think there's way too much of that in this whole discussion because I don't think it has a place in it. But this child, I think, needs protection. I feel strongly that there should be an exception for this under certain conditions that the superintendent would prescribe, and I would ask my colleagues to make an amendment to this resolution allowing him that discretion. That's my point. And I would like to also add, as I said about these kids, 57 people were murdered in Buffalo last year, 48 by handguns, 45 were African American. None of those handguns were registered. So let's keep in perspective what we have here. We had a guy that did a stupid, stupid thing with a registered handgun that apparently he carries all the time. That we had a principal that I thought acted responsibly. He locked the thing up. The councilman himself, produced the gun. I have gone into so many schools in this district. I have never been wanted. I have never been asked if I had a weapon. I've been with my best friend here who does carry a weapon because she's a police officer. I never recall her showing her gun or ever being asked about it. The violence that our kids are experiencing, and I respect Sherry Burns, but it's not it doesn't make me feel better that it's not happening in the schools, it's happening in the streets all over our schools. And we have to get real about this and get to the real causes of what's happening. I respect our security officers. I don't think our schools are secure. We are, you know, I don't know too many of these school shootings that have occurred in urban areas. There may be a few, but I think it's largely a weird psychological phenomenon that's going in suburban schools. It's just bizarre to try to even understand. But let's not kid ourselves that we're protecting kids by telling Wingo he can't go to the graduation. I don't think that that's what we're doing. I think we're making a statement about him, which I'd be happy to join, because I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think his son deserves something a little bit better from us.
Dr. Nevergold and my fellow board members, I know I'm part of that resolution up there, and after giving this matter a great deal of thought and reflection, I had a change of heart regarding parent lingo. Please understand that as a law enforcement officer and a pistol permit concealed carry weapon citizen, and that is me, I take gun ownership and responsibility for that gun ownership very seriously. Responsible gun ownership is critical, it's crucial, it's mandatory. After hearing the facts about what occurred in the school with regards to parent lingo and his actions upon entering that school, I feel he made a mistake which he immediately recognized. I can tell you, as a person who's been carrying a gun for 40 years, it becomes very much a part of your daily attire. There are times I've had my gun with me in places that I think, oh my God, I can't believe I had it. But I take it seriously, I know it's secure, I'm confident in my ability to carry and use my weapon. There are many aspects to this situation, including a line in the law that states, without written authorization, makes it a crime to carry the gun into the school. Parent Wingo, in essence, had authorization when he turned the weapon over to the principal. Granted, it wasn't in writing. It's a very small technicality. I understand why the district attorney chose not to file charges, criminal charges, which, by the way, are felony charges against Mr. Lee. I realize this is an emotional issue, as it should be. Gun violence and school shootings are horrific. But what is a sad testimony to me is that one of our students is graduating this year, and he may not have his dad there to see him accept his diploma. As Mr. Herbert said in his public comments, and I heard him very clearly, many of our students do not have a positive male role model in their life, or a dad who shows them support. I'm not taking a position on this based on political affiliation. I watched Mr. Wingo's actions that night when Mr. Palladino tried to speak here. I tried to bring Mr. Wingo a glass of water to quell his coughing as he coughed over Mr. Palladino's testimony. I am simply treating parent Wingo the way I would want to be treated if this situation happened to me. And again, I'm thinking about lessons learned, I'm thinking about forgiveness, and most importantly, I'm thinking about his son. So, based on that, my vote will be to allow Mr. Wingo the opportunity to watch his son receive his diploma and to walk across the stage at his graduation.
Sitting here listening to what everybody is saying, and I think what's resonating a little bit is where Lou is coming from about being personalized up there. But I do want to put into perspective that we are all making this about a graduation and a parent, and we have in And that's happening because we have policies in effect. So when we have a policy in effect, and if it wasn't Ulysses, and it was a parent, would we have the same forgiveness? Would we have the same, see, this is where I'm telling you right now, this is not happening, and parents are being told they cannot attend their children's graduation. And we don't have to uplift that. What I want to say very bluntly and very clearly is, unfortunately, it's going to be about Mr. Wingo because he is an elected official who is supposed to be a positive role model for many other youth who do not have fathers. He is supposed to be a positive role model, so is our district attorney, so is our folks who are supposed to uplift the law in an equality and in equity, which is not exactly what Buffalo has to offer. Here is an opportunity for the Board of Education to take a situation that can uplift how it's not so much equitable if it's a parent or if a student. If a student brought a gun into school, it's an automatic suspension, and that child is not going to graduate. There's no forgiveness for that child. They will not graduate. Charges will be pressed. That now I understand. I'm sympathetic. I handed my daughter her diploma because I had the opportunity to be a board member. No one understands this more than me, and I wrestle with that. The only issue I have is if we have an opportunity here to say, look, it can't be okay for one person and not another.
It should not be.
That's the position. That's the position we are in as board members. It is unfair. I'm saying this publicly. It's unfair that yes, he did recognize what he did. Yes, he made a mistake, but he is a public official, and if it was me, I would have to own that on the level that he resigned. He did everything that he was supposed to do, but not only is it policy involved, the perception of what happens in Buffalo, New York from a ground point standpoint does not put, it already puts elected officials and people in hierarchy above everybody else. And we are promoting that mindset with this. We have an opportunity to uplift what is policy with, to me, the graduation is unfortunately a piece of that. The piece that he is an elected official is unfortunate. But I really beg anyone in this room to tell me that I am incorrect in saying that if it wasn't an elected official, would we still have that same mercy? Would we still have that same mercy if it was a student? When we talk about that child would not be able to graduate if they accidentally had a gun. It would be illegal. I know you're about to go there. It would be illegal, but it's still one of our kids.
No, well,
So
first of all,
this is, let me finish.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Let me finish. I just really, I appreciate everything you said, and I do not disagree with any of it. I'm saying, what is our standpoint as governance with a policy in place? What is our standpoint and our obligation to our communities who are on the fence? I mean, the political games that are being played just to have people sneaky and talk to you about whether or not you should vote this way or that way, when it comes to the Wingo situation. All that politicking that's happening on one side, I literally pushed it aside, but it just speaks to my point. We have a job to do, there's a policy in place, and I do agree that if we make this policy more broad to everyone, and not just I totally agree with that, because we're literally promoting the actual conflict right here. It's not about Councilman Wingo going to his son's graduation. It's literally about an elected official who was upheld by the entire city, who walked into a school building with a gun when policy clearly states he cannot. Right. It's about a district attorney who said, yes, he did, but. So these are the concerns that are coming to me as someone who represents community, and I'm at a crossroads with my own personal feelings, but at the same time, we have a job to do.
Okay, and I'm trying to tell you
Is it
that
just me, or I couldn't get a sentence out without being, I let you speak, so now I'm done. I did keep talking, now I'm finished, thank you.
I would say two things. One is, when I came on this, what?
Mr. Trusteau.
Oh, okay.
And then somebody else, wants to.
When I came on this board, I was introduced to this concept called restorative justice. It runs through the fiber of everything that most of you talk about. I was on the subject today of suspensions. This isn't about Wingo. I could care less. And you're saying there's politics about, my God, the last person in the world who should ever call me to influence me would be Ulysses Wingo. I would that would be the biggest negative. You could probably have worse messenger you could ever have calling me. I am not a supporter of Ulysses Wingo. I don't care who's running in a primary. I could care less. I'm trying to advocate for the kid. And I think that if you have a school board that practices restorative justice, if you have a school board that talks about children first, then I think it's important to act like it. What I'm recommending isn't to make an amendment that's specifically related to Wingo. I'm making an amendment that allows the superintendent to use his discretion for all those people you talked about. There are, I'm sure, I don't know of any kid that's ever come into a school with a registered handgun. Maybe they have, but I think they're usually, a violation of a lot of laws. But again, if a kid walks into a school with a gun and he is suspended, or she, or whoever it is, and they learn from that experience and they go to school and they graduate, they do the work and do everything they're supposed to do, that is the essence of restorative justice. And I wouldn't advocate telling a kid like that they couldn't go to graduation either. I think it's idiotic. So, we can stand on ceremony, we can quote 100 different state laws, but our job is to really focus on the effect on a kid.
Thank you, Dr. Everett. Yeah, the intent, and again, Larry said some of the things that if we want to grant exceptions for parents to have their child attend graduation as something that's separate from this policy, commingling the gun policy with the actual attendance of graduation, I think is kind of clouding the matter just a little bit. I think, and again, to one point that Larry made about the council, I do work with Councilmember Wingo. He is the only person that called me about this. Council Wingo's son was circulating a petition among all neighbors and friends and family because he wanted to attend, he wanted his father to be able to attend. Everyone told him, you don't have to, I'll put it out there, I'll say that, I'll let people know that we're very interested, that you want to see your father. But Council Wingo also said some pretty upsetting things to members of my community about Catholic school parents and what Catholic school parents do. So that to me was pretty upsetting because so many of my constituents send their children to Catholic schools. What this policy should do is to address, and we're all in agreement. I think all of us agree that none of us want guns in our schools. None of us want any type of violence. None of us want to be party. None of us want to go to another funeral. None of us want to do those things. None of us. But part of this also is if we are going to, who are we punishing these things? Not with the guns, but with the graduation. If we tell a parent that they can't go to their child's graduation, are we punishing the parent or are we punishing the child? And that's part of it. I don't want to punish the child. I want to make sure that the child has the opportunity. Would be a blanket policy? Absolutely not. It would be something at the discretion. I would defer either to the superintendent, that they'd have to petition and ask him to say that I want to attend my child's graduation. Here's the reason why. Because it's such a unique milestone in a person's life that I feel they would have damaged that child.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Pierson.
I want to say a couple of things. I'm going to do my best that I can with this. We have, I believe, in the district, we have protocol procedures in place and to be implemented fairly. And if we implement it across the board the same way, we won't have problems. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to think about if that person is the title or familiar or famous or anything. If they break the law, they break the law. The district didn't say they broke the law. The DA has said he has broken the law. What I believe that you can forget, and forgiveness to me doesn't enter here. I do forgive them. People make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes that impacted my children. For me, and I've shared this with him, so I'm not saying anything I haven't said to him personally. You should have left. As soon as you realize you had it, you leave, you go home, and you secure your weapon. Don't make anything else more important than that. He said if he could take it back, he would have. I wish he could have taken it back too. If I had a little thing to have time go back, absolutely. I respect Councilman Neal. I know him and his family. They're wonderful people. This was a mistake. If there was a second mistake, you should have left and secured your gun and then returned back to the assembly. And we would not be where we are today. There was no need to talk to anybody. That's the responsibility of an adult, of a professional, of a mature adult, gun carrying with a gun. And that is in my heart, and I have shared that with him. I believe in restorative justice. I think after the vote is so that we can support the superintendent, which I think was the appropriate and immediate action to ban him. I think our resolution supports that. We have to put some time frame around it. We don't want it infinitely, right? It is what it is. I have empathy for his children and family, but I know there are other ways that parents have done very creative things to kind of bring that ceremony home again. You can have an expert photographer there, videographer there, and do that. No, it's not optimal, but it's not optimal to come into a school with a loaded gun, and you know that. So there's a lot of things that's just not optimal here. And again, all of you who are parents or you have nieces and nephews, you know we make mistakes. There's no perfect parent. We make mistakes. He shouldn't be, there should be an X on his name, whatever. But the consequences are certainly appropriate here, and it respects all of our kids. It respects all of our children. It respects that we take safety and gun issues very, very seriously. We don't know who would come into our school, whether it's a police officer in their right mind. But see, that's why we have protocol procedures. You don't even have to follow protocol when that becomes an issue. That's why you have a license. They give gun licenses supposedly to responsible adults. Yes, responsible adults can make mistakes. We clearly did. But the consequences here are appropriate, and that is why I signed the resolution and I stand.
I just want to make clear a couple of things. When I said politicking, I did not say lingo because he did not reach out to me. I want to make that very clear. He did not try and coerce me. He didn't have a conversation with me. I know what I said, and I know the assumption and perception, so I'm making that very public now. But Buffalo is Buffalo, and we know how things work, and if anybody takes offense to that, I apologize. And then also, I'm going to say very clearly what Teresa just said. What happened, and the whole scenario is literally what you just said. There is no vendetta for me against Wingo, and we have no reason to have one. I don't have disagreements with him, but we have to set an example of if it's good for one, it's good for the other. Again, I know two parents who are not going to be able to graduate, and restorative practices are not, they cannot help this situation, yet both situations kind of don't equal what's happening here. And I'm not telling anybody's business, but at the same time, it's equity. It's equity across the board. It's just an equity situation, and unfortunately, this man is in the middle of it, and unfortunately, even more so is his son.
Thank you. I would just say, before we have to vote, that I support this resolution. We had a very long, extended conversation about this in a board session, work session. So we did not come to this decision lightly. We weighed all of the consequences of our decision, but in the end, what we thought about was children. That's what we thought about, was the safety of our children in the schools. And taking responsibility for their safety meant that we needed to talk about consequences for behavior. And the consequence here, and the fact that a gun was brought into the school, even if it was turned over to someone else, that individual is, and I'm not a gun owner, and I don't do no gun etiquette, but I've been told that you do not surrender your weapon to anyone. You are responsible for that. That seems to me to be a violation of at least the permit to carry a weapon, but there was no consequence whatsoever. And so the question does come back as to whether or not there is privilege involved in the decisions that were made by the DA's office. And, you know, again, it's been said by numerous board members that there are other parents who are really in the same position. So we should say we should punish their kids because we're not allowing them to go. We allow one person, but not the others because they are not high profile enough. They are not, you know, in a position to have, you know, some privilege and a privileged position. So, you know, it's not an issue also that has come up about the right to carry a weapon. You know, whether it was registered or not registered, ultimately a gun is a gun and a gun kills. We don't care whether it's registered or not registered, ultimately. But it's not about his right to carry a gun. No one has questioned that. He had the right to have the gun. He had it from there and so forth. It was the fact that the action that he did put children in jeopardy. And that's the message that we believe that we need to send. We need to be very direct about it because it is that individual who violated a little bit of second of that school.
Can I say one more thing? I also want to add that, and I do believe in redemption and restorative practices, and I think there is room for that here. At some point, it probably will be the new board. Probably the new board to consider that, because there's probably far-reaching, and Councilman Lee will share with me some other far-reaching consequences that's going to impact his family. I think there is opportunity always for redemption and restorative practice. I said to him, that would be a phenomenal model, and have that practice. You know, this we have to do today on June 19th. At some point, having, you know, really honest conversations and talk about restorative practice. I also said, you know, in that, the person has to come on. You can't come, well, this part is mine, and that isn't mine, that's yours. You got to come on in your actions and behaviors. And I think he's open for that, and I think that this is an opportunity for all of us to grow in this community, to understand some things. We support Councilman Melinda. He's a good person. But this is what it is, and I hope the new board would consider redemption and restorative practice and what that might look like. I think that would be a great opportunity for all of us.
Our student representative would like to say something.
I wanted to give you guys a student point of view about this issue. I think I'm just going to give you an idea how a student would feel if they saw a gun, if they saw somebody that they didn't know who was carrying a gun, and how would that affect their education, how they would feel in class, and how they would feel around their surroundings. I had an incident last month with gun, and it affected me. It will forever affect me. It's affected me for a whole month. And I think we should think about how our students would feel about when they see a gun, when they see somebody that they don't know, even though he is high up there, but some students don't know him. So please consider that.
Ms. J.
Dr. Neverland, I just want to state that I stand behind the resolution. I am one of the sponsors. I've heard everything that everybody said here today. The only thing that I heard that I do think that the board should take into consideration with regard to this resolution is the suggestion made by Mr. Petrucci regarding policy. I think that that was an astute observation that I don't know that we can amend this resolution to reflect that this consequence would be impact anybody that would, going forward in the future, bring a loaded weapon into one of our schools, because I think it's important, as people have said, that we are consistent in terms of the way that we react to things, and that's one of the reasons why I do support this resolution. But I also understand that if we're enacting a policy, that policy shouldn't be simply about one person, that it should be about anybody, that it's not just
am probably, I don't know all of you in this regard, but I am against anybody having a handgun other than a police officer. I'm not advocating anybody walking around any place, let alone a school, with a gun. I also, your comment about politicking, I still don't understand it. I came to this judgment based on my own thoughts, and I don't really care what any politician says about it. My simple thing is that ultimately, it's the kid that you're hurting. I understand you're not trying to do that. Nobody's trying to do that. But when you have a system that doesn't allow the chief executive to consider situations and act with his discretion for everybody. This is not about taking care of a politician. I would say if you gave me a list of 10,000 people in Buffalo, Councilman Wingo would be number 9,999 I want to take care of. Okay? I think, though, that and the more I hear from you, I hear these things about other parents who I don't know and aren't allowed. I think that's wrong also. I think that what we have to do, the safety of schools is so critical, and it has to do with people running around with guns, any kind of concealed weapon, and going into a school, and the first line of defense is our security. Councilman Mingo himself, with a registered handgun, is not a threat to our schools. I think we all admit that. Okay? He did an idiotic thing. His second reaction was even more idiotic. But so if we want to have a long discussion about safety in schools, that's a different topic, which is what a lot of this seems to be about, but it's not. To me, it's a real simple deal, but don't anybody leave here thinking I'm in favor of people having guns. I'm way more liberal than anybody. I lived through it. I'm totally against concealed weapons other than police officers.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Ms. Delta.
Well, Mr. Quinn, I'm not going to feel anyone with a gun is a threat or a weapon is a threat. You don't know what their state of mind is or what their mind could be at any given point. So I'm with you. I don't want to see guns either. I particularly don't want to see them in our schools. If a child had done the same thing, the child would have walked away with a police record, would have been kicked out of school for over a year, and then no one would have been looking at him that it was a mistake. Okay. In the conversation that I had with Councilman Wingo, I was clear to say that at the moment that you came within 1,000 feet of that school building, you were just as illegal as a kid who had an illegal handgun on them. So, being a parent who was not able to go to one of their children's graduations because my kids were born, in fact, 4 years apart, I understand the impact of that. But this is a teachable moment. If you are going to raise a child in America, particularly an African-American male, he has to understand the confines that he exists within. Black lives matter, all lives matter. When you go into a building and you have a weapon on you, all of our children are at risk. There is a threat. It's not necessarily from the person who's carrying a gun, but trust me, in a given situation, that gun has, those bullets have no name on them. Okay, so when we talk about this, what I would say to my child or to my sons is that when you break the law, okay, there are consequences and people get hurt. I'm working with a young man now, his mother spent $10,000. Okay, that's hard-earned money. Okay, in a situation where I don't feel that one penny should have been required to spend. But the lesson that you have to tell children is that if you break the law, there are consequences. And if they don't catch up with you one time, they eventually won't catch up with you because you are not the exception to the rule when it comes to the laws in this country. No one is above the laws. We have policies. The policy is very specific as to who and what can do a person can bring into a school building or what. As far as parents being banned, many of the parents are banned because they are simply posturing, things that they normally do in the community, which will diffuse a situation, causes them to be escalated in a different type of environment. So their crime may have been that they made a threat. Okay, but if they were in the hood or in their community, people would have just ignored it. have people threatening our staff and our children. Safety first. This is not personal at all. What it is it's saying that this is a teachable moment. This board is sending a message to the children in this district that we want them to be safe at all times, and anyone, no matter who it is, that causes us to have a concern about safety is going to be addressed, be it you cannot go to your child's graduation, or you cannot come back into school, or whatever, but we're not going to just let this go away and not address it. It is unacceptable. And what I want all young men to know, particularly in our community, that guns are not safe. They should not be carried without understanding that you have a gun on you at all times. I'm sorry. Okay, that is serious stuff. My father taught us, my brothers weren't even allowed to play shoot 'em up with each other because we had guns in our house. That's how serious it was in our family. Because my father did not want them mistakenly getting a hold of his gun and hurting each other. So they weren't allowed to play shoot 'em up in the house. It wasn't a game that was allowed because we had weapons in the house. And we were taught to revere those weapons and respect them. And anyone who's carrying a weapon who does not remember that they have it on, I have a concern, okay, about that. So this is a teachable moment. Tell your child that, yes, I made a mistake, and as a result of me making a mistake, it was a violation of the law. And as a result of violating the law, there are consequences that we have to now deal with. That is the best lesson you can give a young man today, particularly in this city as far as surviving, or a child. And that's what I have to say. I stand by this resolution. I respect the Wingo family, but I cannot accept the fact that a gun was brought into our school and anyone else that's bringing guns into the school that are not legally licensed to do so according to the policies and the guidelines according to New York State. I have a problem with them, and we are going to exercise the same rights with them. Thank you.
Dr. Everett, may I say one thing? I do want to just comment, because I think it is relevant to the record on the issue of this being addressed in policy. And I don't want the assumption to be that there are not policies that cover this particular issue. Their board policy 3410 and 3210 requires any visitor to a school following the district's and the board's code of conduct. In the code of conduct, anybody that brings a weapon in school, a firearm in particular, is subject to minimum a 1-year suspension from school. And that's also embedded in New York State education. And so, typically for students, they go through the student suspension process under the commissioner's regulations. In this case, the board is enforcing its already written policy and its code of conduct in establishing a penalty and a ban on property for an 18-month period. Okay, so I just want that to be clear for the record that it already is embedded in your policies and your code of conduct.
Mr. Petrucci, can we, your comments, and we'll wrap this up.
I will, and to the point. We say it's not personal, but we've identified the person. And if this is what we want with respect to policy, that anybody that comes in our school for 18 months, that's fine. All of us believe that something legally occurred. All of us believe that the individual should be held responsible. All of us, we're all in agreement here. No one is saying they shouldn't. All of us are in agreement that none of us want guns in our schools. All of us are in agreement, and we all stand strong behind the type of impact the weapon in the school has upon everybody in that community. We are all in agreement. But this, I'm uncomfortable going for something that says one person can feel very personal to me. And that's, to Nate's point about policy, again, this is going to be our policy, and we're being audited. We'll change our policy, that's fine. But it's tough for you to say it's not personal, I say something personal.
All right, thank you. Before we vote, Ms. Lewis, anything you'd like to say?
I am a gun owner. I have no problems with owning a weapon. I have a permit to carry concealed. I obey the law. If I don't obey the law, I have consequences. I believe it is a question of following the policy that is stated clearly. It is already passed. I support this resolution. It is not for Mr. Wingo. It is for everyone. It is for the safety of our children. And you do have consequences for your actions. Thank you.
All right, we have a roll call vote.
On the resolution, how do you vote, Mrs. Delgado?
Yes.
Dr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Jane?
Yes.
Ms. Posey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci? No. Ms. Pierce?
No.
Mr. Quinn?
No.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
President Everett?
Yes.
Resolution passed.
Okay. Now, I have a motion to go into executive session for the following purposes. One, to discuss current litigation with 791 Washington Street, LLC. Two, to discuss potential discipline of specific district employees. And three, for the purpose of receiving legal advice. So moved. Dr. Pierson, second, Mr. Petrucci, all in favor? We will adjourn to board review. Session for the following purposes. One, to discuss current litigation with 791 Washington Street, LLC. Two, to discuss the potential discipline of specific district employees. And three, for the purpose of receiving legal advice. No action was taken. So there are a number of items now that we need to vote on. And we'll start with from items 12 on the agenda, 9C, line 7.
Dr. Harris-Tig, this is the tenure part.
From our?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Harris-Tig is a yes. Ms. Jay?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci? Yes. Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
And President Everett?
Exception.
Exception. And it passes.
We have two missing members.
We do, and it passes. We have 6 votes.
I have a motion authorizing the district to pay $500,000 and 0 cents to fully settle the court action between 791 Washington Street AR and the board with index number 2017-803349 and authorizing the superintendent to execute the settlement documents.
Barbara, could you hold that one because there's 2 recusals here. I don't know.
We do.
Yes,
Oh,
we
you
have
did?
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you don't
Would you like
have.
a roll
Do you have
call
enough
vote?
votes?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like a roll call vote.
Dr. Harris-Tig?
Yes.
Ms. Jay?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci? Yes. Is there a reason there for it? Familial relationship? Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Recusal, and I've been recusing on this issue for over a year.
Is there a
Is
reason?
there a reason?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a friend. I mean, I don't have a business relationship with him, but I think the friendship is too close to, for perception purposes.
And President Everett?
Yes.
Settlement passes.
Okay. Third item,
Wait a minute. Did you need it? For the record, for the record. I think you should for the record. This is for the Krog situation.
for the what?
Krog.
The settlement.
Do you want to repeat those?
Let's get the vote in the record.
Well, we've already closed the vote.
It's messy. I think
Okay.
that's
Gotta go.
You talking about for the statement?
No, this is for the
No.
the former Trico plant that was going to be the Emerson.
Point of order.
Oh.
Point of order on that.
Go ahead.
So may I have a motion authorizing the superintendent to negotiate an extension of the board's transportation agreement with the charter school for applied
No, I need
technology
that.
for no less than the current terms of the period not to exceed 5 years. Moved by Mr. Quinn, second by Ms. Pierce. Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Harris-Tig?
Yes.
Ms. Jay?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci? Yes. Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
President Everett?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And finally, may I have a motion authorizing the superintendent to develop a public statement in regard to an incident that occurred between a student and the Buffalo Police Department earlier this school year.
You said
Why is the superintendent doing it?
and, yeah, we didn't say the superintendent was gonna make the statement, you said a student in the Buffalo.
Authorizing the superintendent to develop a public statement in regard to
On behalf of the board.
Yeah, but that's not the
Okay,
way.
we gotta get that together.
Yeah, I heard that
Right,
because
right.
I'm hearing this is like the Wingo resolution. You want to make a statement on behalf of the board about violence and treatment of students inside of schools.
By
And that's
police.
and that's a narrative. I don't mind helping you draft
Right.
something, but when you sign it, it needs to be signed by
I think
the
that's
board.
I think that's the intent of this motion. So if we need to say, the public statement on behalf of the board, is that?
It's signed by the board, being authorized to make a statement.
May I have
Or
a
to
motion?
prepare a statement
What
to
did you-
develop.
what was your intent?
My intent to have a statement presented from the board.
Well,
To
so
the
that
community.
means,
That's my
I
intent.
think, that he has to write one, issue
Well,
one.
not him.
Well, somebody.
Right.
Okay, so,
Well, the board can only direct
These
the
things
We
are
only can direct the
nuanced. They make a
superintendent.
difference.
Okay, so we only, that
so if we don't
he
know what
would-
statement he's gonna make, then
So
how can
Nate,
we
how
vote?
do we phrase that? He's our employee.
With the spirit of
But
what
we,
you
right,
discussed.
we don't want him to go and write it.
No, I
himself.
understand.
No, it's not even that. It's, there's a difference between what you did tonight
Right.
on the Wingo case and a difference between me writing a statement and then putting it out as it's from me.
No, you wouldn't even put it out.
We want a statement from the
I
board.
think if you just add here on behalf of the board.
So,
Read it
let me,
again.
can I read this again? Can I have a motion authorizing the superintendent to develop a public statement on behalf of the board in regard to an incident that occurred between a student and the Buffalo Police Department earlier this school year?
Yes.
Inside of school.
Inside the school. Yep, put in.
That occurred between a student and the Buffalo Police Department inside a school.
District school.
Inside a
Inside
district
a
school
district
earlier
school.
this year.
I don't, can I ask a
Well,
question about
let me
this?
get the motion first and second it, and then we can have
Make
discussion.
the motion.
Moved by Dr. Aristick and seconded by Ms. Wood. So now.
I would like to make clear that the statement is made by those that vote yes. I mean, if you vote no, I think it, like today, where you had sponsors, I think it ought to have the names of people that support it, because I'm not gonna support it, I don't want a name on it. And I would like that to be clear.
I don't know, my understanding there is
It's a
that-
statement, it's not a
Right.
policy, so.
That the motion is to make a statement. We vote that the statement will be written on behalf of the board. You say yea or nay. If the board, if it passes, a statement will be written, and we will give it, present it on behalf of the board. Because that's the only way we can act.
You can do that, but I am requesting personally that at the end of the statement that you put a line in there that says this is not.
Yeah, I
being
think, because
supported by
I
board
disagree
member
with it strongly, and
Pierson.
you're, it's
I
not like you're
can't.
passing a
Right.
contract, or you're stating an opinion, and by saying the board, you're implying that
Yeah.
we're
Well,
in favor of it,
it
and I'm
only
clearly not.
implies that a vote was taken in the majority,
so what
or
Patty's-
whatever.
Then just
But it
add a minority
But
dissent
you two
line
could
on it.
say, I did
Well,
not.
no, because,
No one's gonna come to us
because
and
it
ask.
may
She has
never
to be
come to that,
covered. She
people will
works
think
for
we
the
voted
DA.
for it, and we didn't, and they may never ask you whether you voted for it or not. I think there should be a dissent line, that just put on the bottom, whoever votes no, this statement,
May, what do you think
the
about
following
that?
members dissented to the
That's not
statement.
what we do in most voting cases.
This is not-
There's been things that
You know-
I didn't vote for, but my training and everything about the board work tells me if the majority rules and that happens.
You're gonna issue
Yeah,
a
go
statement.
along with
typically
it.
that would be the case, but I think Ms. Pierson, this is a
Yeah,
different
Ms.
circumstance
Ms.
because she's
Pierce.
recused herself.
And we,
And I do
and
understand why she
you're
would want
just,
her name on
you're
it.
stating, it's not inaccurate to say that the following members dissented.
So,
not
let me
inaccurate.
ask,
Recuse
let me
themselves?
ask our
No, they're
attorney,
dissenting.
our counsel here, let me ask our counsel, how would you suggest that wording?
I mean,
Remember, this is a precedent.
typically when the
You work
board
on it,
takes an
trying that
action,
stuff.
you know, it would be on behalf of the board.
But this isn't an action, this is a statement, it's an opinion.
Yeah, but it will be the board's statement.
I understand. But it's
So what do you think the language
Do we
Why
open
don't
the
you,
press?
why don't you direct me to develop a resolution about in-school?
We're not meeting
something
again, so it's
about
not.
that.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't know if we need
We're
a
not gonna meet again. I
resolution.
mean,
Well, you're not gonna meet on this. How you gonna approve this?
How you gonna approve it?
Can I just say something? I'm reluctant.
Yes.
The reason why I'm reluctant is because I'm considering it from a legal perspective. And until I've had a conversation with the defense attorney and I feel comfortable that whatever it is that we say is not going to negatively impact this student, this child, or he's not a child, but this young man's case, I am not comfortable issuing a statement. That's how I feel.
Well, you're
Can
gonna
I
vote
just
no.
respond to that on
I'm sorry?
some
You're gonna vote no, and so let's say 3 of us vote no.
Right.
You want it known that you did not agree with the statement, right?
Well, I might agree with it, but I can't
Right now,
say
you're not
it right in
agreeing.
this minute.
Right.
So in every case similar like this, would you need to talk with their attorney or whoever it is you think? Suppose the kid has a public attorney. Is that you going to follow that? Because you're going to set a
Well,
precedent.
Teresa, there was a time early in the going here.
I've had it.
Where,
Well,
well, wait a
you
minute,
do
wait,
it.
whoa.
There
There was a time when this
Yes.
board passed many issues and the 4 of you issued your own statement. You did it frequently, and
Yeah,
I'm just
give me an
asking for this
example in the
all the
public.
time. You
Could
actually
give me?
sent
I just want
letters.
one example.
Not on behalf of
Not on behalf
You
of
actually sent a letter to the Commissioner of Education on board stationery and expressed your dissenting opinion on this numerous times. My point is, give us the courtesy of having our opinions properly represented.
Let me ask again our counsel, because this is a motion that we're trying to pass tonight. However, we will not see the statement, not approve the
Right.
statement as the board once it is developed, even though if it's turned into a resolution. How do we effectuate this? If this is going forward, how do we ensure that the
Why
statement?
would we not approve it? He's going to work on it after the vote. He's going to send
We're
it out.
not
to us.
meeting again as a board.
We can do
to
it through
approve
the
it.
email.
That's why I'm asking him if one can do that. How do we effectuate it? How do we do it?
Through the email.
You can't
And
conduct
by the
this.
30th, we should
Well,
be
that's
ready
what
to
I'm
deliver.
asking.
Let's do it differently then. We can approve the statement that I drafted tonight.
That's what I would.
You need to say pending some edits or some
Well,
amendment,
but
because
that's what I'm.
I don't even agree with that.
Well, right.
This board is not gonna be convening again.
I know.
I mean,
But
the
if we
only
agree-
thing that I'm
if we
comfortable
vote-
with
That's
is-
why I worded it the way I did, because that way the superintendent would make the edits and suggest them to, review them with the board members that have authorized you to release the statement on behalf of the board to get the feedback.
When you're
prior
doing
to
that,
the
you're
release.
implying the board is that you're representing my opinion, her opinion. And this is not like approving a contract, which is a cut and dry thing as a majority. This is you're expressing someone's opinion, and by saying the board, you're implying it's my opinion, it's her opinion. And all I'm asking is
Well,
that you
But
put.
we should
You would
be-
prefer unanimity. but
Staff
ultimately the
staff shouldn't be
votes-
put in a position though, to do something on behalf of the board, if the board doesn't agree. I mean, that's.
Well, of
The
course,
board
I don't
agrees
wanna-
or not by
I
vote.
Why don't you
serve the
pass it
board,
on to
we
the new
serve the
board?
board. Huh?
Why
But
don't
this
you
is-
pass it on to the new board? It's 2 weeks away.
I think it would be terrible.
Pass it on to them.
Mhm.
It's
Why?
gonna
They haven't
ultimately,
seen the video. And at this
Well, they can
point,
see it when they come in. It's
who
just,
says that?
it's all gonna be hashed out on their watch.
right.
Let me ask a question. We've had 3 people who have expressed
And
concern
a
and
fourth.
indication that they're
And
not
Sharon,
going
too.
to vote against as well. And abstention, I don't know how she would. That's right, she did. But are there any others who have concerns about this and would not be ready to vote on it tonight? Because if we don't have 5 votes, the whole issue is moving.
Yeah. Do we have 5? We did have 5.
Yeah, we have.
Who's the
so
five?
what-
Three,
1,
four,
2, 3, it's
five.
gotta be
You said yes.
redrafted and.
I just wanted to clarify that because.
And maybe we could
We
add
do
to
feel
the
it's-
amendment that
it's
this,
necessary to say something.
we need it worked on and through email, we can tweak it or whatever, and by the 30th, we should be able to deliver, and you don't even have to read it, a board member can read it.
I don't have to read it.
Read it, present it.
Oh.
A board member can do that. This statement is
We're not
only
meeting
saying
on
that
the
we
30th.
acknowledge that there was an incident that concerned us. We did our due diligence. We had the folks here. They were going to get back to us. They did not. Here are some suggestions. But we acknowledge the public because it's going to get public. and that is not cool. I wouldn't want that to happen. My child and the board turned away.
I have no issue with the, you know, although this is, if those that approve it, it will be a majority, but those would be the signatories on the statement.
Right.
If that's how you would prefer to do it. But
That-
once the
right,
board
'cause she
moves to
has
do
a
this,
conflict that's
the
real.
board is asking the superintendent to do something. So you need a majority to do that. And that's 5 votes. And so that's an action by the board.
Can there be at the bottom of it, like we had sponsored by, and have the 5 sponsors?
I have
that
no
way,
issue with that.
So
I
that
think
way
that's what he's
that gets
suggesting.
them out.
That's what I'm saying. We sign
That's
it.
what
They
he
won't
just
sign
said.
it.
necessarily know that I'm going to disagree with it. I haven't seen it, number one. Number two, I don't feel comfortable voting for something I haven't seen. I think that that's...
You're not voting for the essence of the statement.
But
You're
what if
voting
we
to
vote?
have one.
I understand that, but if it's written in a way that I like they're saying that I don't agree with, or I think there's some issue with, I feel like I need to do more due diligence on this, and then I have no issue with a statement. I don't know what it's going to say.
It's just.
And I don't know how it's going to
But if you're
impact
voting no,
his case.
I'm just going to say
You're saying you don't want to say
You're
that.
going to sit back.
It's going to go back and forth.
Wait,
To a point.
my understanding is that what we're agreeing to and voting for right now is that a draft will be made that we're able to edit and tweak before the 30th, and then that's what we're voting on, is that we're gonna at least approve him to make a draft. We're not, and then we read it and present it, and by then, if you don't wanna put your name on it, we've taken our name off of stuff before. So it's just approval of the draft, not the content.
So can we have a vote on this?
Where's your statue?
Yeah.
What are we voting on?
Where's your
I think it's
statue?
in the next round.
The superintendent.
We're voting on, you want me to repeat the motion?
Sure.
I ask for a motion authorizing the superintendent to develop a public statement on behalf of the board in
This is
regard
all
to an
public
incident
anyways.
that occurred between a student
It's
and
been
the
in the
Buffalo
freaking
Police
paper. We're
Department
the only ones
in a
writing
district
statements.
school
Jesus
earlier
Christ.
this school year.
And the
That-
developing the
that is the
statement
motion.
means he develops the statement. Does it mean he issues it?
No,
No.
not without our
It's sent to
agreeing to
us.
what it says.
All right, can we take a roll call vote?
Yes. Dr. Hairstig?
Yes.
Ms. Jam?
Yes.
Mr. Posey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci? Yes. Ms. Pierce?
No.
Mr. Quinn?
No.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. President Evergold, President
Yes.
Evergold, you're not done yet. Sorry, it's late.
Right,
It is late.
we have to put all the business to this
All
meeting?
night.
Yes, we have it.
So, thank you very much, motion to adjourn.
Yay!
And we go to 2 a.m. Once a month.
I actually have to sit for a minute before I get up. Okay.
Are you done?